Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for this Thursday night edition as we bring in our good friend Steve Stockton from Among the Missing to go over some missing people and strange stories. Dirty Filth is here with another cartoon, and the best part about it is we have each and every one of you, including Race Fan, in the gold medal position, Tim Mothman in his goatee in the silver, Laura Lobbs with a nice bronze medal tonight. Hi, Jimmy Gonzalez and Robert Lamoth, Michael Morris, the attorney at large, Kevin, and Sacred Ghost. Welcome to SOR Chat. Lulu Bell, how are you doing? Lulu Bell will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Puck Elf, nice to see you. Lightwalkers, thanks for coming on in as we continue on with our roll call tonight. And who else do we have here? We have Time Travel, Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, Lee the Bee, and Mr. Cowley. Mr. Cowley will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Chris 716, Marie Palmer, how you doing? Good to see you both. Hello, lovely and talented Kira from Beyond. Welcome to SOR Chat. There's little Stevie Stockton in the chat room saying, Among the Missing. There he is. Steve also, if you see him in the chat room, give him a wave. He always waves back. Always. All right, moving on here. We have Polaris Sucks. How you doing, buddy? Mama Catherine. Mwah. I love you, my dear. And who else do we have? Desert Rat, Digger Dog. Good to see you both. Brown Dwarf. And number 14 in your program, starting at left wing from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. Purple-haired Pixie Lara, Flat 6. Good to see you both. As we continue on with our roll call tonight, Millennium, my man, thank you for coming on in. Stargazer, good to see you. And who else do we have here? Carla, nice to have you back. Tokeland, you're early. Nice to see you. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Paula Fost, thanks for coming on in. Hi, Kurt M. Bobby Farron. And who else do we have here? We have Lakeside Laura, or Laura, pardon me. Welcome to the show. Little Cam over on Twitch. How you doing, buddy? W. David Page, thank you for joining us. And SG Nav Spotter, Mac Geek, Gee Calgary, Nick Adkins. Good to see you all. And who else do we have? Scrolling on down. Susie B, how are you, my dear? Thank you for coming on in. Hi, Sandra Kincaid and Kathy Evans. And who else is here? Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. She always likes your name said 3 times. Crystal J, nice to see you. Hi, Vanessa. And who else is here? Vash the Impaler, nice to have you here. We continue our scrolling. Jennifer Patterson, thank you for coming on in. And I think we are pretty much caught up there. And let's get the radio side started, shall we? Hello and welcome to the Spaced Out Radio side and podcast side tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you tuning in as we will have Steve Stockton from the YouTube channel Among the Missing talking about vanishing people. As we continue on with our roll call tonight, Supernova, how are you doing? And there's Bill WD40. He is currently lubing us up for tonight's show because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth, and that's what Bill takes care of each and every night for us. We appreciate that, Bill. Thank you. I know you laugh every time you hear that. I know you do. All right, who else has joined us here? Rock and Rory, welcome to SOR Chat. If you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell. The super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you in advance. And of course, if you have not done so yet, sign up for our fan party in Reno, Nevada, May 10th through 12th at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort. VIP tickets are $100, regular tickets are $60, and we're going to have a good time. Don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Hi, Debster. And what do you do there? Hey, we got no ugly swag. That's what it is. Here we go, everybody. Throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a power show of fun tonight. Steve Stockton from the YouTube channel Among the Missing is going to talk about vanishing people. Then in hour number 3, we'll hear a story from Steve Stockton's Among the Missing because he kicks off hour 3 each and every night. Following up by Robin Haynes and the Crypted Report. And then right after that, it's Dave 101 night and the weird news of the week. You know, I love it when Steve Stockton comes on this show because the stories he tells are not only creepy, but they are sometimes real head scratchers at what makes people just vanish. Steve has a YouTube channel called Among the Missing. If you listen to this show all the time, you hear us play one of his short stories to kick off hour number 3 of this show. Steve's become a very good friend of Spaced Out Radio, and he's somebody who is very well introduced into the world of people just disappearing. How it happens? Is it something supernatural? Is it something criminal? We will find out tonight. And if you want to go and sign up for Steve's channel, go to youtube.com/Among the Missing. Steve Stockton, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time in 2024. Good to see you, my man.
Hey, good to see you, Dave. Thanks for having me on again.
Hey, it's always a pleasure to have you and your high-quality beard on this show. We appreciate that. You and I are both running for the role of Santa Claus in December.
Yours is longer than mine this time. I got it cut right before Thanksgiving, and I told the stylist that I wanted to keep the length, and she kept the length on the floor of her shop. So I'm in the process of growing it back out, but kind of in a Jim Mars mode right now. But I'm going to catch up with you.
Well, this is only lasting until the fan party in Reno, Nevada, May 10th through 12th. And, you know, if it lasts that long, I'm already, starting to get itchy on it. You know what I'm saying?
You should have a contest and sell raffle tickets. Who gets to shave Dave's beard?
Well, this is actually what we planned is at the fan party. I'm going to auction off my beard.
Oh, good deal.
Okay? And then whoever wins that gets to shave the beard off me. All right. Following that, we're going to take that money. So let's say it sells for $100. We're going to take that $100 and I'm going to give it back to the person to put it on red or green or black. Pardon me, red or black at the roulette table. And if they win, they get the entire thing back double.
Good deal.
I think that's a fair deal. You know,
And there is a green on there. There's 0 and 00 in some casinos. So
I
you
know.
win a lot more than double if you hit that.
Oh yeah. So that's just what I'm thinking of doing. I think it's fun. So we'll probably end up doing that. We probably will. You know.
Good deal.
Well, you know what? You have moved east. You are now living, I believe, in Maryland.
New England. I'm in Massachusetts.
And how has the move been for you since you've met this lovely lady? You are now married and concentrating on building a great product on Among the Missing. I mean, how's everything going for you?
Oh, it's going great. I'm living my best life ever. I love it here in New England. I've always felt a pull here, even from childhood. I thought it would be Maine, but I may end up there eventually. But the whole of New England, it's one of the strangest, most haunted, weird areas I've ever lived in. And I'm looking forward to warm weather now so I can get out, boots on the ground, and start exploring some of this stuff. There's a couple books in there, I'm sure, probably more than a couple.
Yeah, I bet there is. I bet there is. I mean, there's some spooky history around that area. Speaking of spooky history, explain to people how you got involved in creating a very popular YouTube channel that tells and talks about stories of missing people.
Well, for me, really, it all started in 1969, Father's Day, with the disappearance of Dennis Martin in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. I was almost the same age as Dennis. I think he was 6 going on 7, and I was 5 going on 6. And that was the first time I got the concept that a kid could go missing and never be found. And it stuck with me. I mean, I followed that case from day one. It was big news in Knoxville, Tennessee, where we both lived. And somewhere I've still got a couple of scrapbooks that I filled up with news clippings. And you wonder, or I did even as a child, how can a kid just about my size and age go missing and no trace ever found? So that's been a long time ago, but that case still haunts me. That's one of the most inexplicable cases that I know of, and that's the one that got me on this Ferris wheel.
Yeah, I can see where that would kick you off. You know, for me, Steve, it was the one thing that scared me as a child is where I grew up. My first 7, 8 years of life, 9 years of life, we never locked the door. We didn't have to, you know. And then all of a sudden, children started vanishing around the greater Vancouver area, and it was believed that all of a sudden their bodies started being found. And the police were looking for a serial killer whom they eventually caught named what was his name now? I don't know why all of a sudden I've forgotten his name, but either way, he's not important. The family's
Clifford Olson.
Clifford Olson. Thank you, Dirty Filth, for jumping on in. Clifford Olson had killed all these kids. And I remember, you know, my parents telling me, you know, even though we were still allowed to walk to our buddy's house a mile away, be careful. If you see this color van, you run and you go into someone's house. I mean, we'd never lived in that type of fear before. And it really seemed to change in the 80s, didn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a loss of innocence there. I recently did a video about strange Canadian disappearances, and there were a lot of them in BC. Aaron Derbyshire is one. That's a more recent one. Michael Dunahee in 1986. And let me scroll through this. I'm looking at the document here. Emma Filipoff, also in 1986. And the one, I think Nicole Morin, that one, it said that in the script that my wife wrote, that really was kind of a change of innocence, and that was in Toronto though. But I find a lot of strange ones in Canada. There's a part two of that video coming up. Lisa Marie Young, uh, another one from BC. A lot of missing people out there, and strange circumstances, if you will, for the ones that I covered in that particular video.
And I don't know what it is about British Columbia, right down through Washington State, Oregon, and California, that has so many sick psychopaths and serial killers that are amongst the public. I mean,
Yeah,
you look at we talked to just mentioned Clifford Olson. He ended up killing, I believe, 14 or 15 children. Okay, you look at Richard Ramirez. You look at a lot of people. Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy. Who's the other guy? Israel Keys. He's responsible for at least 12 that they know of, and they
Wayne
all they
Richard.
like the Pacific Northwest for some reason.
It's weird, man. It's very weird that on what's around here. But I mean, murder and kidnapping isn't the only reason why people go missing. And I mean, this is a lot of what you talk about on Among the Missing is just how people vanished. I mean, I would say that a number of years ago, David Politis made this very popular with his missing 411 connections that he investigated. I mean, how hard is it to all of a sudden, be a part of those missing stories when you're dealing with real souls out there that have vanished?
Yeah, it's now a lot of them aren't really that mysterious once you dig into them. A lot of it's misadventure, people being overconfident and ill prepared, not being aware of the weather, the environment, and the weather can change quickly, especially in the mountains. I know that from growing up in and around the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. But then there's some cases out there that just make absolutely no sense. There's no motive, no reason for anybody to want to do away with that person, or I don't know. I've asked that question and been posed that question a lot. Is it portals? Is it Bigfoot? Is it some kind of shadowy government thing? Is it aliens? Is it human predators? And the short answer is yes to all the above. I think it could be any one of those. Now, not in every case, like I said, but there are some out there that don't make any sense. And no trace. How can a human go missing with no trace? Now, a lot of people say, "Oh, well, it's predatory animal, apex predators in the woods." Because you get out in Mother Nature, you're no longer the top of the food chain, and there are things that will kill you and eat you. But there's forensic evidence. I've seen police photographs of bear attacks before, big cat attacks. It's not pretty. I mean, there's blood. The ground cover is disturbed. There's shredded clothing, things like that. The strangest cases are the ones where there's no trace of anything like that. It's like they just simply vanish. They cease to exist. Those are the weird ones. Those are the ones that'll keep you up at night.
Very true, very true. I mean, you look at all of the ways out there. You mentioned a few. I mean, big cats, bears, and there's a lot of predatory animals in North America. Wolf packs will devour a person in no time. I mean, it's just the way it is. But I mean, there's a lot of high strangeness out in the forests and the mountains of the North America as well. People claim Bigfoot, a dogman, and other cryptid creatures. People have blamed aliens and, like you said, portals and dimensions opening up, and just people maybe walking in. I mean, how many stories have we heard over the years, Steve, where somebody's walking ahead and they take a corner and all of a sudden they're gone, but they return and they're like, "Hey, I heard you yelling for me. Didn't you hear me yelling back that I was just ahead of you?" Or something along those lines. I mean, the high strangeness that the wilderness can provide is second to none.
Yeah, that's true. It's a different paradigm out there in the woods. Um, there seem to be pockets of weirdness, and I've covered cases like that where the person suddenly realizes they're not on the trail anymore. They turn around and look back, and they haven't been on the trail while they just were on the trail. And that's happened where they could hear and sometimes even see the searchers, but they yell, scream, wave their arms. they can't be seen or heard. So it's like some sort of parallel dimension or something strange that goes on there. And then they make it back. And they don't know how they got there or how they got back. So I think that points toward evidence of portals or time slips or some sort of something beyond our understanding through science.
Do these things happen in the same areas, or can they pop up anywhere?
I think they can happen anywhere, but there's some areas that it tends to be more prevalent in. Um, Certain national parks, and there's that containment theory. People claim that some of these national parks were created to sort of fence off those spaces, if you will, and allow some public access. But they're like the Grand Canyon, for example. There's a lot of stories and legends about the Grand Canyon, about things they found there, Egyptian artifacts and places that you are simply not allowed to go in the Grand Canyon if you can get to those areas. So it makes you wonder. Now, all that's unsubstantiated, but it would make a lot of sense too if there are things taking people that they would want to try to keep most people away from that area, or maybe occasionally let a few slip through. There's the theory, the conspiracy theory about the deal that Eisenhower made with the aliens. And I think you've had Laura Eisenhower on your show before. She's a friend of mine. And she said that it was common knowledge in their family that there was a treaty signed with the aliens. And, a treaty that makes you think that's something you would sign to keep them from killing you or killing us. So food for thought there, Dave.
Oh, very much so. And I mean, I just don't understand how or why people can just vanish. I mean, look, there's a lot of things we don't understand in life. People who decide to end things for themselves. There's always those big questions, on why they would do something like that, or anybody would do something like that. I mean, life can be scary. Life can be traumatic. And at times it can feel hopeless. How many people who are vanishing like this do you believe are actually doing it out of their own result?
That does happen. There, we have covered cases like that, sad cases where maybe somebody's terminally ill or they just don't want to go on for whatever reason and go out without plans to return. But then again, you have to wonder. You take, like, say, the suicide forest in Japan, they find bodies in there all the time. But a lot of these people, even though they know or they think that they know that they went out there to intentionally never come back, where are the remains? And I imagine it would be hard to get yourself into a place if you're going to do something like that where no trace of you could ever be found. Have people in the Smokies like that have vanished, and they think that was probably the outcome. But then where did they go? Of course, there are things out there. The smaller creatures of the forest will make a meal out of you. I've heard that put forth, for example, with Bigfoot. People's like, oh, well, they can't exist because we've never found a corpse. Dave, I've been all up and down the woods and the trails and things on both coasts and in between. And I've never seen a bear carcass in the wild. I've never seen a deer carcass other than where somebody was poaching out of season or something like that and had discarded. Nature cleans up after itself. So that, I don't think that's a valid reason to say that those things aren't out there because we've never found a corpse. And who knows, with a Bigfoot or Sasquatch, maybe they bury their dead like we do.
I believe the statistic is it only takes Mother Nature up to 2 weeks to vanish a skeletal remain of an animal.
Mhm.
2 weeks from being, let's say a moose dies of old age, okay, and it falls down in the forest, to the time the predators get their piece, the scavengers get theirs, all the bugs from spiders to any type of bug and worm gets theirs. And then, of course, if you take the dog family, you got wolves and coyotes and foxes that will take the bones for the marrow and eat the bones. And I believe it's 2 weeks it takes for those bones and everything to be gone.
No,
It's not a long time in forest time.
it's not long at all. But those things, they won't eat hiking boots. They won't eat backpacks and tents and clothing and things. So even if the person is gone, where's all their stuff, whatever they carried in there with them? So it still begs the question, though. There's did something take them? Did whatever takes people in the woods? And I believe there is something out there that occasionally takes people in the woods. They didn't know that the person was there with no intention of coming out and thought, well, okay, you're not wanting to go back out anyway, so I'm going to use you for whatever means I was going to take you for, and there you go.
Yeah, that's sad. I mean, I never really thought about the hiking boots or the jacket or the camping equipment, from stoves to tents and air mattresses. I mean, that just adds to the mystery of it all.
Hmm. So again, there's some of these cases that make absolutely no sense. They can't be explained away just through common scientific and rational thought.
Hmm. You know, when you look at all the stories you've done now, and we got about 3 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour, Steve. All the stories that you have done, what have you learned?
Well, the biggest thing I've learned is don't go hiking alone. Most people go hiking, even in a group. If they separate from the group, that's when they tend to go missing. But if you're going to go hiking and you don't want to go missing, stay with your group, go with the group, stay with the group, and don't wander off. Don't go back to the car. Use the buddy system, and always be prepared. Like I said, I've covered a lot of cases that are just due to pure misfortune. Uh, People thinking, "Oh, I'm an experienced hiker; it'll never happen to me." That's the kind of attitude that will cause it to happen to you when you think. I mean, just one slip. Could you get out in some of those places, you turn your ankle or you go over the edge, that's the end of you. And a lot are found that way, but then that's the ones that aren't found that keep me up at night.
What bothers you more? Children going missing, which is the easy one, or maybe somebody who is handicapped by mental illness or just physically handicapped and may not understand? I mean, what really captures your heart?
Yeah, well, with me, it's especially the children and the elderly people. We do a show on Friday nights where we do current missing person cases. And some of those elderly people, usually they've been out driving and shouldn't have ever been behind the wheel. But those tug at my heartstrings the most. But truly, no one missing person is any more or less important than any other missing person. I'd like to bring them all home. That's kind of a hashtag that we use over there, bring them home or bring them home now. But the children especially, and like I said, the old people, those are the roughest to think about. And then when they are found deceased, that's a real kicker.
Why the elderly? A lot of people out there will say, well, they're old enough to make their own decisions, and they've probably had a good life. I'm playing devil's advocate here,
Yeah.
obviously.
Uh, Again, it's just one of those things. But I've thought about that. If I ever have dementia or Alzheimer's or something, I've told my wife, just take me out in the woods, set me on a rock somewhere, and tell me you'll be back, and then I'll be squirrel food. But I don't know. It's just one of those things. But elderly and the young, those are the toughest pills to swallow, I think. Just because of, you know elderly people. My dad would be 102 this year were he still alive. So, I try to think of, and he was 82, 2 days short of his 82nd birthday when he passed away. And I think, my dad wandering around out in the woods, how terrible would that be? Or I've had friends who's had family that suffered from Alzheimer, dementia, get in a car and drive away, maybe not know where they are or where they were going, and just keep driving. There's a rock and roll song called "The Way" by Fastball about an elderly couple that did just that. They got in the car, they were going to a music festival in Texas, and then they found them, I think, a couple of states away where they'd driven off a cliff.
You got that right. Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. When we return, what makes people vanish? Where do they go? What about if they come back? Lots more to talk about in story time with Steve Stockton from Among the Missing on Spaced Out Radio. Rock and roll, man. That's a good start.
Good stuff. Oh, I want to show you this. I got this. Look at that. I don't know if you can see that. It's
nice.
Got a reflection on it, but that's my YouTube play button.
Nice.
100,000 subscribers. So
I've never seen one that close.
That's actually the second one I've earned, but I did this one all myself. So
good for you. Peter Birdsall, how you doing? Long time, no time. Dizzy, how you doing, Dizzy? Dizzy Reed. That's what I'm going to call you, Dizzy Reed. Tribute to Guns N' Roses keyboardist. Mennonite Abe, how you doing? Oob to Joe's Main, I've got your beard. That looks pretty awesome there, Dirty Filth.
Good evening. How you doing?
Buttons. One of my friends at work requested a picture of the jellyfish UFO.
Very nice.
So I hosed him $100 for it. Score.
Good. Jessica McCreary, how you doing? Candy Wolf, thanks for coming on in. FU, Zaddy, how you doing? Hey, I want to remind everybody, and I'm going to keep reminding you, that we want each and every one of you to be attending the 3rd annual SOR fan party in Reno, Nevada, May 10th through 12th. Hopefully, Susie B is going to be there as the welcoming party, as we will do the Friday night show live in Reno. We've got a conference room for that. Right after that, the VIP party. If you get your VIP ticket, you will get a filled up swag bag that will include a little piece of art from Dirty Filth, as he did last year, and much, much more. The VIP party, you're going to hang out with all the celebrities that you hear on this show. And if Steve Stockton wants to fly out and be there with us, he can do that. That's his choice. He can do that. Jeez, I caught him off guard there. He's choking up.
I might just do that. Question, though. How come Reno this time instead of Las Vegas?
It's about $200 a night cheaper in the hotel.
And about 200 miles closer, so too.
Yeah. So that's why we're doing. Hi, Vaughn Patrick. How you doing? What I need you all to do. Oh, by the way, we've also got a ghost tour of Virginia City that Merle is going to take you on. And
that'd be fun.
Saturday night, it is Melinda Leslie and her Skywatch for UFOs. $100 for VIP tickets, $60 for non-VIP tickets. Take advantage of it. Come join us. All of these celebrities. Hey, guess who's coming? We got Melinda Leslie. We got Merle. We got Science Bob, Jim Goodall, Michael Schratt, Kevin Day from the USS Nimitz is going to join us. Yeah, the guy who found the Tic Tacs, he's coming to hang out with you. All right. Lorian Fenton, Geraldine Orozco, and many, many more are coming for you guys. All for you. Not for me, all for you. So come hang out. Those who were there the last couple of years will tell you how much fun it is. And the more people that show up, the more that Kira is going to sign autographs. Yeah, Kira is going to sign autographs as well. So you want hers, and she will pose for pictures. Yes, she will. Okay? So come on down. Go to info@spacedoutradio.com, info@spacedoutradio.com, and apply and get your tickets today. All right, Vaughn Patrick, we know I'm excited to meet you coming down from Edmundchuk all the way to Reno. Political Foolishness, how you doing? Good to see you. Pixie Lara, you better be there. Rich Buddy, how you doing? Rich Buddy wants to know, Dirty Filth, do you ever airbrush?
No, I do
No.
not.
No, he does not. No. All right, we got 30 seconds. Thank you tonight so far to Kevin, Horror Realm, and Jennifer for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support. And don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store on our website, spacedoutradio.com. We do not have ugly swag, people. Nothing ugly. Yeah, we got our clothing is more than just garage sale clothing. So buy some today. Here we go. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate burning your listening ears. A reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go from Among the Missing on YouTube. Steve Stockton, the host and good friend of Spaced Out Radios. And Steve allows us to play one of his creepy stories for all of you each and every night on this show to kick off hour number 3. And you know, Steve, I get a lot of positivity from our audience about playing that story that we choose each and every night from your channel.
Good deal. And I've got some exclusive content coming up for you soon too.
Oh, I appreciate that. You know, I want to ask you, because you've delved into these subjects and your team is delved in as well. How do you explain these people who vanish and then reappear?
I think there's some kind of rift in the fabric of time and space there. I interviewed a lady one time several years ago that had gone missing and came back, and she likened it to two pieces of silk, where you can see through it, and then when they're both together, you can see through both of them, and then they part back, and that's probably a very strange way to describe it, but it kind of makes sense that sometimes when the very fabric of space and time kind of meld together, you can be in another place or in an alternate dimension, and then when the fabric separates, then there you are. And I've also heard it described as like, say, if you took an old paper map, you could fold that map and make the distance between two places shorter by folding it together. I've heard that description too, that somehow it's like the distance is either lengthened or shortened between places. I've had people that had experiences like that while they were driving, that lost time or lost space, actually, where they got to somewhere much faster than it should have taken them to get there, or it took much, much longer to drive from point A to point B. I had that happen to me once in Las Vegas. I'd been out on the east side of Vegas. I lived on the west side. I was coming back home, and I drove and I drove and I drove and I drove. From the center strip, it should have taken me maybe 15 minutes to get up to my turn to go to my neighborhood. But it seemed like I drove for probably a half hour, 45 minutes. And I'm thinking, I'm going to be out to Blue Diamond here in a minute. I have no idea where I'm at. And then suddenly things looked familiar again, and there was my turn. But it never took that long before or after that. So what happens out there? I think there's things that happen that we don't understand. I've heard other people talk about that when walking a distance. I know of examples of people that maybe went up to the corner store, and when they came back, they suddenly found themselves several blocks away from home, knowing that they hadn't walked there. So I think there's all kinds of things out there that we don't understand when we apply our knowledge of science and things to it, there's things that don't fit. My father was a scientist at Oak Ridge National Laboratory, and he would talk about that, how under extremely controlled laboratory conditions, sometimes there would be anomalous results that were not repeatable, even under the strictest conditions. He said sometimes things just happen that aren't supposed to happen. And that's part of the supernatural, I think, I think our natural came out of the supernatural. And that's why sometimes a little bit of that gets left behind, and something will happen that we can't explain away with the laws of time or space or physics.
Yeah, and when you've talked to people who have reappeared, how are they mentally? Do they know really what went on?
I think some do, and that's the ones that sadly, for whatever reason, choose not to talk about it. I've uh, covered cases like that where the person was missing and then later found in an area that had already been searched, and possibly knew where they were and what was going on, but they don't ever want to talk about it again. So it's obviously traumatic. And then there are cases where people that have been missing and had the experience like we talked about earlier, where they could see or hear the searchers, but couldn't be seen or heard. And it's just they have no explanation for it either, yet they experienced it.
Right. I mean, I could just imagine what that would be like. I mean, you got to wonder, is there, if they're in a different dimension, what are they seeing? What are they doing? Because, in talking to Jessica Jones, where her Crypted team actually had a couple members walk into a portal, they said on the other side everything was, very like desert like and desolate, and dead dead small trees and brush around, and it just seemed very isolated. You got to wonder if it's all like that or if it's something different.
Yeah, I would love to know, especially some of the children that's happened to. I wonder if when they're older, if they'll recall the Riker Webb case from a few years ago. I think 2 or 3 year old kid that wandered away from home, and they found him several miles away in the shed of a cabin. But if you see the picture where search and rescue took him out there, he's wearing these little footy pajamas. The bottoms of the feet are barely even dirty. There's no way that kid walked for miles up a mountain, down another mountain in snowy and rainy conditions. So where was he? Where did he go? What happened to him? And I hope that when he's old enough to kind of recant what happened, that he does, and lets us know what that experience was like for him. But like I said, it seems like the ones that do remember, they don't either remember the clear details of it like that, or I think the ones that really would have an amazing story, the ones that choose not to talk about it for whatever reason, that it was traumatic or PTSD inducing.
What do you think really happened to Riker Webb?
That one's a mystery to me, but like I said, just the photographic evidence when they've got him on the stretcher there, and they're loading him in the ambulance. There's no way he walked for miles in the mountains in those little footy pajamas and didn't even get muddy. And the look on his face, he's got that 1,000-yard stare. When I was a little kid, I saw guys come back from Vietnam that had that look, that had really experienced some heavy trauma to their psyche. And I had people comment on the video that I made about it at the time saying, that's not the same kid. That's a changeling. Whatever that is, take it and put it back and go look for the actual kid. That's not him. He did. He looked fundamentally different. He had the wild-eyed stare, and that kid's seen some stuff. That's one I'd like to follow and see if he ever gives interviews in a few years. I'd love to talk to him about his experience.
Yeah, I would love to talk with him as well. That is one of those stories that came out right after that young boy disappeared from his own yard in North Carolina and was found 2 days later, saying that a teddy bear kept him company and warm and fed him.
Mhm.
And everybody knows, if you know anything about nature, in the middle of winter, if a bear wakes up in the middle of hibernation or wakes up early from hibernation, It is angry, it is mean, and it is hungry.
Yep.
It's not going to go pick berries with a little child to feed the child.
Yeah, the bears don't cuddle with children. That doesn't have. I've heard there's a few cases like that where children have claimed that either a big teddy bear or one little girl said, I think a big shaggy dog picked berries for her and kept her cuddled with her at night to keep her warm. I think it's something other than that, just beyond their ability to describe at such a young age.
Do you think, going back to Riker Webb, that was a Sasquatch case?
That's a possibility. Something took him and carried him a couple of miles through the woods. Might have been, a human predator that thought, maybe this isn't a good idea. I'll just put him here in this shed and pretend it never happened. But it wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't something extraterrestrial, if you will, or if indeed Sasquatch is extraterrestrial, hyperterrestrial, maybe.
How many of these cases do you blame on cryptids like Sasquatch?
There's a few that I can think of in the Bennington Triangle area. The Bennington and Burlington Triangles are both here in New England. But there's a case in there where there was a very experienced hunter that went missing. And when they did find him, they said that it looked like he'd been squeezed to death. And that's a quote from, I think, the sheriff's deputy that found him. Well, what's in the woods that could squeeze you to death? I mean, you could be gored, you could be bitten, you could be mauled, but squeezed to death, that would take a rather large creature, I think. Now, the Algonquin do have a legend of a rock creature in those mountains that I think it's the Algonquin that can disguise itself as a rock. And if you happen to step on it or walk near it, it can open up, swallow you, get whatever life force, essence, sustenance that it wants, and then spit you back out. Well, if you had been attacked by such a creature, maybe you would look like you've been squeezed to death. There are people found in boulder fields, for example, that look like they've fallen from a considerable height when there's no height that they could have fallen from. Did something take them up, or did something take them down and then spit them back out? It boggles the mind, some of these cases, and trying to wrap your head around it and make sense out of the nonsensical, if you will.
You mentioned boulders. This is an area where I'm telling you, I have one area where we go hunting here, and we have to travel right through a boulder field. And every time I go through that boulder field, man, I all of a sudden, maybe I've heard too many stories, from people courtesy of you and others. But I'm telling you, Dad, I go through that boulder area, and there's a number of them in my area. First thing I'm doing is I'm checking the clock. Okay, what time is it? In case something happens, I want to know what time it is. What's the last time I remember? Okay, and I'm not hoping that anything happens, but I want to be prepared. Why do people seem to go missing in these boulder areas?
Yeah, I don't know so much that that's where they went missing, but where they were found. They could have gone missing from anywhere. But there's something to that, I think, as far as I don't know if it's the makeup of the rocks themselves, because there's the stone tape theory and things like that in ghosts. And quartz, quartz has a lot of properties. You can make a quartz radio. You can make quartz. Quartz is in your watch and the quartz movement of a watch. So there's something there. It's able to collect and amplify energy. So who's to say that other types of rock don't have those properties as well? Maybe I don't know. It's all conjecture at this point, but there's definitely something out there. And boulders, I don't know. First of all, I'm checking for snakes if I'm around boulders, especially if I'm in rattlesnake country. But there are other things too. And I do that same thing if I'm out. I keep a vigil on whatever timepiece I've got with me, just so I can tell, because I've had missing time before. I had lost a couple of hours back in the 80s once, and still don't know what happened during that incident, and don't really know that I want to know.
Okay, what happened during that incident? I have to
Okay.
ask.
Well, I was in high school at the time, and I rode BMX bikes. And the guy that lived up the street from me, that was a year younger than me, we rode together. We lived in the subdivision, and it was being developed in three phases. The first phase was completely finished. They were still working on the second phase. That's where he and I both lived. They just started on the third phase. So back up in the back of the subdivision, there was a paved road up there, nothing else. Everything else was wooded lots. One evening, it might have been in the summertime. It was like late summer, early fall, best I can remember. We'd ridden our bikes up there on the paved road where there was no houses and stuff, just to get out and enjoy riding around. And it was just starting to get dark, and I heard a noise in the woods off to my right, some sort of metallic sound. And I remember looking up that way. And then when I looked back, I'm still on my bike. I'm still pedaling. My friend's pedaling along beside me, but we're going in the other direction, like headed back toward home. And I didn't say anything. It scared the hell out of me. And went on down the road. He went in his driveway. I went on up the street to mine. And my parents were like, hey, where you been? I'm like, oh, I was out riding bikes with Danny. And they're like, well, it's getting late. We were getting worried about you. It was probably 8 or 8:30 when he and I were up there. And by the time I got home, it was after 11 o'clock. So there's 2 hours, a little over 2 hours there. I have no idea where we were, what happened. And it happened to him too. We did talk about it later on. A couple of days later, I was like, Danny, did something happen the other night? And he's like, yeah. He said, I was afraid to say anything. I thought I was going crazy. But it was the same experience. He remembers we were going one way, and then suddenly, after we heard whatever noise it was in the woods, metallic sound, then we were going the other way, still on our bikes. And I've had people ask me, would you undergo hypnotic regression to see where you were? And I'm like, well, a part of me wants to, but a part of me would rather not. And if I was probed or something, I don't want to know about it.
Mhm. No, definitely not. And I can see where you would want to, keep that quiet. I mean, but the idea of just going someplace. I mean, it's one thing if a person kidnaps you. It's another thing if all of a sudden, you have these weird dreams of alien abductions, Steve, where you're taken aboard these craft, and maybe it's a pleasant one where you get to look out the windows of and see Saturn and Jupiter and Mars. Or maybe it's one of the bad ones where you're off for some weird surgery that seems to last for hours and hours and hours. I mean, at some point, we have to start collecting answers for these, don't you think?
Yeah, I would think so. And I would love to see somebody do a research project, like a funded research project on that, to talk to these people and see what they could come up with as far as answers as to I mean, I don't think it's a mass hallucination or shared hallucination or something like that that spans over time. But a lot of people do have those experiences where they have just a little sliver of memory, or maybe even a false memory, or I don't know. Maybe is it something that the brain just blocks out because it's so traumatic that it would destroy the psyche? Or is whatever this thing is it able to put those memories in your brain or even take memories out? Again, boggles the mind, literally.
It really does. We have about 5.5 minutes before we have to go to break here at the bottom or at the top of the hour. Steve Stockton from the YouTube channel Among the Missing is joining us. Steve, there's a lot of conspiracy theory out there that a lot of people, when they go missing, it's the government taking them. It's the government who are killing off Bigfoot. It's the government who are knocking off Dogman. It's the government who has special teams patrolling certain areas of the forest around the United States and Canada that are just taking people against their will. I mean, what do you know about this?
Oh, again, they're just theories. I've heard all of them, but there's credence to them. I mean, it's not just some kind of wild-eyed, ranting of a lunatic or something. The theories make sense that the government could be behind it or could be allowing it to happen. And again, that kind of feeds back into the treaty that Eisenhower supposedly signed. But what I want to know is the technology, supposedly, if you look at the technological advances, people claim that was what we got out of the bargain. But what do the aliens take? What is it that we have that they want? Are they tagging us like cattle, putting implants in us so they can track us? But to what means? To what end is that? Or is there something that we as humans have that they don't have, such as love, compassion, a soul, something like that they want to study and see if there's a way that they can replicate that or take it from us and inject it into their kind. This kind of thoughts that roll around in my head when I can't sleep.
Yeah, I bet. As an abductee myself, I know I get little snippets. That's all I'm ever given to remember. I never seem to get that long form. I never get to seem to fly the craft like everybody else does. But I mean, it's still with an ET abductee or abduction, you never know where it's going to go because they're the ones in control. You are not.
Yeah, no, I've never had any real memories like that. Although early childhood, I sort of remember an operation that I apparently didn't have. I remember being wheeled into a room and there's doctors or people with masks over their face bent over me. And I thought I was remembering when I had between 5 and 6, I had my tonsils and adenoids removed. But that's not that memory that I seem to have is not from that procedure. And that's the only operation I had as a child. I had some teeth pulled, but I don't even think they put me under completely for that. So what is that? And then snippets of dreams and things. I dream of places that I've never been. I think we dream travel. There's places that I visit in my dreams that are the same place every time, but time has passed. There's things that have happened there since I haven't been there. Now, is that some sort of astral travel? Is that just the brain having fun? But it's weird that to go to the same place, I recognize things and people. They know me there, but I'm not who I am. I'm somebody else, apparently. And places, there's one place I dream about often. There's a little gas station up on the corner where I stop and get coffee. Sometimes it's raining and the streets are wet. Another time there was like a street carnival going on in this place that I go to, and I went and walked around and looked at all the booths and exhibits and stuff. Is that really just the mind having fun while we're asleep? Or there's the theory of hereditary memory where you can remember things that your ancestors may have seen or experienced. But again, these dreams that I'm talking about, these are modern day places that I go to. It's not, even 20, 30, 40 years ago. It seems to be the present there. It's just another place.
As simple as it sounds, that's the only way you can put it.
Yeah.
They go to a different place.
Now, when I go there in my dreams, do I suddenly appear in somebody else's reality? Or they're like, where'd that guy come from? Or when I wake up, do I suddenly disappear there? What if this is an illusion? What if this is the dream? And I've heard people conjecture that before too.
Where does missing time come into play?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Where does missing time come into
Missing
play?
time. Again, I think it's either like something that's done to us by these entities, whether they be biological or extraterrestrial. They either don't want you to remember, or it's something just so mind-shattering to us as a human that your own brain will compartmentalize that and block it off so you don't remember it to keep you from going mad. I can see both sides of the coin on that one.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, but there's no fairness to whatever is happening. That's one thing that can be guaranteed.
Yeah, exactly. There's no socioeconomic strata or anything there. It seems to happen to everybody in all cultures. And years ago, there's stories that it's like sleep paralysis and things like that. I've experienced that before. What is that? I mean, there are medical and scientific explanations for it, but there are portions of that aren't sensical, where I've heard tones, I've sensed a presence in the room with me when I was having sleep paralysis and things. So many things we don't understand.
Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. We continue with hour number 2. when we return on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. More from Among the Missing host, Steve Stockton. We will be right back. All right, Steve, I'm going to pass things over to Dirty Filth here. He's going to unmute, and I'll be back in about a couple minutes, okay?
Sounds good.
Are you going for sandwich or beverage or smoke there, Steve?
You wish, Luce?
Yeah, I'm going to step away for just a minute here.
Okay. Anyways, you mentioned something about going to a different place when you go to sleep. That usually happens with me. I firmly believe that when I go to sleep, I wake up in an entirely different place that's sort of this hollow blob that's sort of the same. I mean, my house is almost exactly the same, except blob. Except my back door is where my basement door is, and the backyard is switched around. Anyways, it's not really important. I'm rambling, but that reminded me.
That is kind of strange, though, that it's the same place but yet different.
And I usually do the exact same thing. I get up and I just live a daily life in my dream, and it's strange, but I've just kind of gotten used to it. And
I've got a question for you then. Do you paint or draw in your dreams?
I have, and I've recently been able to see what I've been able to write in dreams. It used to be extremely difficult to see any writing. I couldn't make it out, but the last little while I've been able to see any writing that I've looked at. And all my dreams are in color. I can smell and touch and taste and feel them. It's interesting. I tried to tell people, I never knew that people didn't have dreams like that. I just thought that's how everything always was.
Yeah, same with me. I've tasted things and smelled things in dreams. I've been eating in a dream before and wake up and I'm chewing and still have, it seems like, the taste of what I was dreaming I was eating in my mouth.
I've had that happen where I was eating this delicious sour blue raspberry candy and I woke up and I've never been able to eat that same flavor of sour blue raspberry gummy candies, and it just bugs me to this day.
Yeah.
Cats are out of control. Yes. Anyways, I have almost got my second book complete, everybody. If you stick with me for another month or so, I've had a little bit of technical difficulties, so I have to fix a couple things, but it'll be out probably in another month or two. But in the meantime, you can get the first book if you go to filthy.com, FYLTHY.com, and get a copy there. Get one for your mom too, and probably your weird uncle. Everyone's got a weird uncle. He needs one. And also have a calendar on there as well. There's a link to it there. I know the month of January is almost over, but if all else fails, you can get it and you can look at all the interesting dates about UFOs and cryptids and things like that. I also even included one of my favorite strange cases in the entire universe, the Somerton Man mystery, or the Tamanshud mystery. I may have said that incorrectly. It's about a fella, they found his body in, I think it was New South Wales in Australia, and there was no identifying marks or anything on him. They'd never really been able to identify the body. He had some mysterious ripped piece of paper they found from a book. And that's just kind of what I can remember off the top of my head while I'm trying to make this normal here.
Hi, Dirty.
Out a bit. Hi, Dave. How's it going, Dave?
Oh, good. How you doing?
Oh, not bad.
I'm going to assume that's a picture of the jellyfish, right?
Yes. A friend of mine wanted a good copy of a jellyfish picture, so it's like, well, I can do it for $100. He's like, okay.
Look at you.
Perfect.
Just whoring out your art.
Just you shrewd businessman.
Shrewd businessman. That's right. Peddling. Yeah. I love it.
Market myself like Robert Crumb.
Yeah. There's little Stevie Stockton right there, hanging on out with us. His beard shining as bright as ever. All right. Big thank you tonight to Kevin, Jennifer, and Horror Realm for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support. And don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store on our website, spacedoutradio.com. We do not have ugly swag, people. I did not hear Blob talking away while I was gone. Was Blob pissed at me or what?
She snuck in for a few minutes, and then my legs got numb, so I had to get rid of her.
All right. We got about 10 seconds, people. So let's have a good next hour. If you have questions for Steve, put them in capital letters. Hi, Tedestrial. How are you? Here we go, everyone.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Obtundant. Obtundant is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Here we go again with a good friend, Steve Stockton, from Among the Missing, where he is sharing some of the craziest stories that we know of people who just vanish into thin air. Steve's YouTube channel, Among the Missing, over 100,000 subscribers. And congratulations on that, Steve. That's very impressive.
Thank you.
You got to show me how you do it.
If I knew the secret, I'd write a book about it, but it's just people like what I talk about, so...
I don't blame you. I'm a big fan of storytelling. I'm a big fan of people that vanish because I don't understand how it works. I mean, when I grew up, back in 1986, you did a story recently on Michael Dennehy. This is a case where I think everybody in British Columbia who's born and raised in BC through the 70s and 60s, 70s, and 80s, and maybe even into the 90s, a little bit. It is a case where, a 5-year-old boy or a 4-year-old boy was at the park, and his parents were watching some sports in the stands, and all of a sudden he vanishes. This is a case that still grips British Columbia to this day. We're all cheering for the family. Everybody's just waiting for Michael to come home. Do you get that with a lot of missing persons cases? Like in your case with young Dennis?
Yeah, that was one, I watched for him forever to come home. And I saw an interview with his dad. I think it was the 40th anniversary of the disappearance, one of the local TV stations there in Knoxville. Talked to the man, and he passed away a few years ago on Halloween, no less. But in that interview, he said that, there's a part of me that thinks one day there'll be a knock at the door. I hear this knock, and he thinks, it's another reporter or somebody writing a book or something. He goes, go to the door. There's a nice looking young man standing there, and yeah, can I help you? And he says, Dad, it's me. It's Dennis. I've come home. And sadly, that never happened. But that's not having any closure, not knowing what happened. That's got to be the absolute worst. That's got to be just heart rending, because at least if they are found, if it is solved in that regard, even with an unhappy ending, there's a memorial that you have, or a gravestone, or the ashes on the mantle. But not knowing where that person is, your loved one, are they being held against their will? Have they lost their memory? Are they cold? Are they hungry? Are they trying to get home? That's got to just suck the soul out of you.
It totally does. I mean, we never really, we always think about the person who goes missing, but we never really think of the trauma that a family goes through. I mean, I've known families that, where the child has taken their own life, and that's killed the family. It doesn't matter if there's 2 or 3 more children in the family, it's literally destroyed them all.
Yeah.
I just imagine what it's like for somebody to be, kidnapped or just vanish into thin air and never to see that person again. And I I don't even want to imagine it, to be honest with you. I really don't even want to imagine it, because it's terrible when it is children, for sure.
Yeah, and like I said, and even if they are found deceased, there's never any real closure. I think you would at least know that they weren't out there. But then the ones that never give up hope. I mean, there are people like Dennis Martin's dad, and I've met him in person before at the architecture firm that he worked at. I was there on a field trip from school, and I knew who he was, and he had a picture of Dennis on his desk. That's how he wasn't at his desk, but I saw that picture and I thought, And then later he was sitting at his desk, and I talked to him a little bit, but I didn't mention. It's just too pain. How do you mention something like that? Oh, I hope you find your child. I didn't know what to say other than just, hey, how you doing? But yeah, it's just be careful out there is what I got to say. And yeah, the case there, Michael Dunahee, his mother was at a flag football practice. Father was spectating, and the little boy had asked for permission to go to the playground, which is just right there. They were at a school, and never saw him again. And she said later on that it was against her better judgment, that she felt something off, but she let him go anyway. So I think one of the takeaways there would be trust your gut. Go with that gut instinct, that motherly instinct, that parental feeling.
Yeah, I mean,
But if something seems off, go with that feeling. And there's another case that I'll cover in the next. I'm going to do some more of these Canadian strange disappearances. Somebody commented about Casey Bohan, 3 years old, disappeared from Vancouver suburbs, never to be seen again, and that's been over 30 years now. So there's a lot of cases like that. I mean, there are certain ones that, for whatever reason, catches media attention, and for every one that you hear about nationwide or internationally, there are probably dozens and dozens more from little communities that you never hear anything about.
Yeah, I forgot about the Casey Bowen one.
Yeah, somebody had left out in a comment. I'd never heard of that one. I'll have to do some research on it and see what I can come up with. But got a good response from the strange Canadian disappearances, so there'll definitely be a part 2 in the works for that one.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, do you think a lot of these cases are related? Because a lot of times you point in the direction of whether or not this is something to do with, the area where people are, like national parks or famous areas.
Yeah, well, the thing with the national parks, I mean, that's a lot of people visit there. Even during all the stuff that went on a couple of years ago with the lockdown and everything, the Great Smoky Mountains still saw over 12 million visitors. That's a lot of people in a relatively small area comparatively. But again, there's so many things out there that can end you. You can do it to yourself. You can slip and fall. Not prepared for the weather. You can pass away from hypothermia. Uh, Human predators, animal predators, and then the woo factor, if you will, the more esoteric and strange stuff of UFOs, Bigfoot, Dogman, the Glimmer Man, all these other things out there that you hear stories of. I think there's some credence to that.
At what point do you take the cryptid side, the woo side?
For me, it's the ones where that there is no other rational explanation than something supernatural, where maybe two people were together and the person turned around just for a second and then they look back and the person's gone, or the person hiked just ahead of them and never to be seen again. I don't know of any kind of natural predator that could take somebody that to the point where, I mean, if a big cat or a bear gets a hold of you, you're going to scream unless they get you by the throat instantly. But then there's going to be signs of a struggle. And in some of these cases, there's not. I mean, there's even been like boot prints along a creek bank or in the snow, even where the prints just stop and the person no longer exists, at least not on this plane.
Let's go to a couple audience questions here, if you
Sure.
don't mind. You're going to start off with Dizzy Reed here. Steve, any word on your future book about your grandmother and her gypsy magic?
That's still a work in progress. There's people I would love to interview for that, but sadly, a lot of them have passed on. She had 10 kids, my mom and her 9 brothers, and they're all gone except for one brother, and he's in his 80s now and probably didn't remember a lot of that stuff. So it's basically just me sitting down and when I'm writing about it and remembered a lot of the things that she talked about or taught to me, it'll jog another memory. So it's kind of a process for me to go through just a brain scan on myself and try to remember the little minutiae and the things that really bring those stories to life. But it's because of her that I started writing these books and things like Strange Things in the Woods. Just at her funeral, I had an epiphany and thought those stories, all those stories and legends and folklore and superstitions and things that she talked about and taught me, it dies right there with her, but I chose not to let it. I wanted to write it down, and not just her story, but other people's stories. And that one, because it's so close and means so much to me. I mean, I was scared of her when I was little because she looked like a Hansel and Gretel style witch. But she passed away when I was 13. I wish I'd had at least another 13 years to spend with her, but that one's in the works.
Love it. What a way to pay tribute, man. What a way to pay tribute to your family. A lot of these cases where people go missing, there's no screaming, there's no yelling, there's no, like you mentioned, if a predator attacked you, you're going to hear something, either from the person who's being attacked or by the predator itself. Okay? But one thing we don't talk a lot of, Steve, is what we call feral people. These are people who, we're not even talking are living off the grid. We're talking people who are maybe born off the grid, and this is all they know is.
Yeah. I believe they're out there. And in fact, in my book about, I think it was in the Smokies, the book that I wrote about the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, I've got a chapter about feral people, particularly in the Smokies. And there's Dwight McCarter. He was the lead tracker on the Dennis Martin case. He's retired now. He's a park ranger there in the Smokies. He spoke of people that lived. He didn't call them ferals, but that was what he was alluding to, that there's people that live in the park that don't want to be seen or bothered. And sometimes they've been there for generations. And I've had people come at me and say, "Oh, you're not going to tell me that people could live out like that and not be seen or not known about." But it's possible. I mean, you have people like Eric Rudolph, the bomber that was on the top of the FBI's most wanted for several years. This was a man with no outdoor experience, no survival experience or anything. He just didn't want to go to prison, so he took to the woods. He lived in Nantahala National Forest for several years without detection, and that's a much smaller area than the Smokies. So it's possible. And my response to that is you just haven't been far enough back in the woods. There's some places, particularly in national parks and the Smokies in general, that there's probably not a lot of humans even set foot there. So there's places you could hide. If you had some woodcraft and survival experience, you could hunt, you could fish, you could make your own clothing, you could build your own shelter and be far away from any prying eyes if you chose to be. And I think that happens. Made a video over on my channel about that. Are there feral people in our national parks? It's one of those, you kind of draw your own conclusions, but point out the facts and possibilities and things. And I think there are.
Does this go beyond, say, what we knew of in the 40s, 30s, and as hillbilly families?
Yeah, now there's some of that, particularly in the southern Appalachians. Even over on the Cumberland Plateau, where my dad's from, Middle Tennessee, Fentress County, there are people there that were almost feral, lived way, way back in the woods. Now, a lot of times they were moonshiners and had a purpose for living that far out. But yeah, there was a whole family of people that I later talked to. One of the children, he was elderly. He was like 80 years old at the time I talked to him. He's passed away a long time ago. I got some good stories from him. But his entire family grew up, I mean, miles and miles from town. They had to, if they walked into town to get stuff, it was a several mile journey. Nobody came back there. Nobody bothered them. Nobody cared what they were doing. And they didn't want anybody to know what they were doing, even if it was just living peacefully. But again, that area, there was a lot of moonshine and things. And then probably modern day, other kinds of crops, maybe not so much now that it's legalized everywhere, but those type of grow ops. I lived up in extreme northeastern Tennessee for a little while, a little place called Mountain City. And just outside that town, it's in Johnson County, is the real Copperhead Road. They had to change the name of it from the Steve Earle song because people kept stealing the street sign. But that's a real place, and that song speaks to people that like to be left alone and have those little isolated communities where, if you show up in those places, they immediately know you're not from there and you don't belong there, and they think you're up to something and will chase you out if you're lucky. And if you're not so lucky, they might take a shot at you, or you might just disappear. That's very real and still is, particularly in the southern Appalachians. And I'm sure you have that in other mountainous areas throughout the country and the world.
I apologize. I missed this question from who it was earlier in the chat, but somebody was asking about these stairways that are in the middle of the forest.
I've heard stories about them. I've encountered it to a degree, but I think it's, in the case where I was, I think it was old home site foundations where they had stone or brick stairs. But I've heard stories of people finding like new, obviously man-made stairways in the woods. And I talked to a guy who had been in the military. I think he was, I want to say, the branch of the Army. And he said they were told that when they were doing their training and their exercises in the woods, that if they ever saw any stairwells, not to climb them. So I don't know. And then supposedly it's been debunked and people says it don't exist or it's a creepypasta or whatever, but I still think there's a nugget of truth in there. And my feelings on that, if you had some sort of craft that you were going to land out in a place regularly, why not just build a set of stairs there? You could land next to that, and then there's your egress out of the craft that you were flying. I don't know. That's something I came up with, but again, that could be the top of that. Maybe that's where the portal is. Maybe that's why they put the stairs there. What if these portals, if they do exist, what if they're not all on the ground? What if some of them are up several feet into the air? Well, there's an easy way to get up to it if you have a reason to go through it and know what it is and where it is. Again, just spitballing there, but that's a way to make sense out of the nonsensical.
The stairwell is one of those urban legends that really freaks me out. It really does. Because what kind of stairwell are people seeing going up, and what happens if you get to the top?
Yeah, indeed. Like I said, there's all kinds of stories out there, and it is an urban legend. But as with all the urban legends, I think there's just a nugget of truth in there somewhere. Whether it be the vanishing hitchhiker or Crybaby Bridge, I think somewhere those things did happen, and it just got passed around, kind of like the telephone game. It gets added to or changed around a little bit with each retelling, and that's how those things get spread. Because I've done a lot of research into that, and you'll find almost exactly the same story, but in a different area with maybe just a little different set of circumstances. The same with the gravity hill thing, where if you put your car in park or put your car in neutral, rather, it'll roll up the hill. And then in some places across the railroad tracks, and if you put a light or a flower on your car, you'll find a little tiny handprints on it, where the urban legend is that a busload of children was hit by a train, and that's why they push your car across the tracks. But I love stuff like that. I'm a big student of folklore and urban legends in particular.
What's your favorite?
The Vanishing Hitchhiker's got to be one of my favorites, and the Crybaby Bridge. And usually accompanying the Crybaby Bridge, there'll also be a lady in white that wanders the bridge. And that's in other cultures too, like La Llorona from Mexico. I don't know. I love to hear those stories. And Clinton Road in New Jersey, there's phantom trucks there. There's a Crybaby Bridge. Supposedly, if you throw coins in the water off that bridge and then you come back after midnight, wet coins will be laying on the pavement where they were thrown back up out of the water. I enjoy looking into stuff like that. And especially down south, every little community has a Crybaby Bridge or a lady in white legend. And I experienced that overseas. I spent a year overseas in the early 2000s and heard that in some other countries that I was in, but told, oh, it's the absolute truth. It happens right here, so.
It is amazing. We have you for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio going into the next half hour. I'd like to get in maybe one or two of your stories. But while we're waiting, who are we? Paranormarv wants to know is we got about 90 seconds. Steve, have you ever heard of a missing person associated with a black-eyed kid encounter?
No, I've never heard of a blend of those two together, although it may be. I had a black-eyed kids encounter back in the 90s in an industrial area in a parking lot at 2:00 in the morning. But that's the most frightened that I've ever been. I've had some hairy experiences before too. Had something that I couldn't see chase me out of the woods. Had another thing that a friend and I encountered when we were about 10 years old that I've been told was possibly a Wendigo or some sort of shapeshifter. But two little girls in a parking lot at 2:00 in the morning, I was just out of my mind with fear, and it was just coming off of them in waves. And later on, I've thought about that, and I don't think it was really even two little girls. I think whatever was out there, that was how it presented itself. I don't know if it was extraterrestrial. I've had people think that it may have even been demonic, but I couldn't wait to get away from it. And just an irrational fear. Like I was driving a little convertible car at the time, and I kept looking back behind me to see if they were running along beside the car, or looking over to make sure they hadn't jumped in the car when I wasn't looking. Just crazy thoughts like that, things that I wouldn't even normally pause to think about. But I'll do some research into that, Paramarv, and see if there's some strange things out there about the black-eyed kid encounters, but I don't know if there's any missing people associated with it. But good question. I'll look into it.
All right, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing here. Let's go over to Well, I guess we're going to take a break. Then we'll get into a couple more audience questions on Spaced Out Radio. Steve Stockton from the YouTube channel Among the Missing. He shows off his award to me while I am still 75,000 and change behind. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. I bet you your beautiful wife showed up and said, "Hey, look what you got." And then every time you're like at dinner, you're like carrying this around.
I haven't gotten that bad, but I am proud of it. I mean, it's I earned it the hard way. So
yeah,
like I said, that's the second one. I didn't get a copy of the first one; it was given to somebody else. But oh well.
I'll be right back, Steve. I'm just gonna go throw some water on my face.
All right. And it's early for you there. It's just 1:30 a.m. here in New England. Let me look through the chat here and see if there's anybody that I know and recognize. I posted on my community tab, but a lot of my audience is East Coast or UK, and it's late night in both places. So it's like 6:30 a.m. in the UK. Let me get caught up in the chat here. I can't really see it in StreamYard here. Those are small. These are just reading glasses, and it's just the right distance that I can't read it with them, and it's too far away for me to see with them. Sophie Littleford's there. She's one of my regulars. Hi, Sophie. Good to see. Polaris Sucks. He's over my channel. I think you're a member over there, aren't you, Polaris? Scroll through the chat here. Bad Daddy, you said you were from Knoxville. Or you live in Knoxville. That's where I grew up. Knoxville, Oak Ridge area. Grew up in extreme West Knox County just before we went into Oak Ridge. Brown Dwarf, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Brown Dwarf's got a great channel. Go check him out. And Lee G over at First Floor Audio. He's my musical director. He and I didn't realize you're back, Dave. I was talking to the.
You go right ahead.
Lee was saying he came over here the other night and you shouted him out, and he was talking to people. Now he and I are doing a channel called From Beyond, which is we're kind of looking into some of the classic UFO cases. It starts next Wednesday, and we're talking about the Betty and Barney Hill case, which was here in New England. Fascinating case.
Love that case. Love that case. Sorry, I had to throw some water on my face. I spent at work today about 6.5 hours working outside at about minus 16 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, it's 20 degrees here, and this is cold to me. I moved here from the high desert. Of course, it gets cold in the high desert, but this is my first New England winter, and I thought I would have like a Currier and Ives painting for Christmas, and it was like 50 degrees or something, but we're getting it in spades now. We got about a little over a week ago, we got around 20 inches of snow, and then just a couple of days ago, we got 3 to 5, which is all iced and frozen over out there now. I can't even take my dog out to walk down the street. I have to just take him in the yard.
Mm-hmm.
So it's getting used to it, but I love it here. This is my favorite place that I've ever lived.
Good for you.
New England, anyway. I may end up in Maine one day. I've always felt a pull to Maine, even as a small child. I don't know what that's all about, but thinking about it, we're talking one day we'd like to own a Christmas tree farm. Wouldn't that be a lot of fun?
I love it. Everyone's named Dave. Welcome to SOR Chat. Bivitar Shamble, welcome to SOR Chat as well. If you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell. We are here 7 days a week, and we need like 75,000 plus more to catch up to Steve. So if you wouldn't mind, it would really help us out, because he's not waiting for us. Who am I? How are you? Good to see you. Thank you tonight to Jennifer, Horror Realm, and Kevin for the super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And Dizzy says, more listener stories, Steve.
I've got a podcast it's on Spreaker and wherever you get your podcast called Midnight Mailbox. Now I did put the first episode up over on ATM. It's about an hour long, but it's listener stories that people send to me. There's some good stuff in there. Shadow people, Hat Man, ghosts, UFOs, a little bit of everything, and I love it. It was everybody has some kind of experience, I think, or they've had one and they're in denial or they don't want to talk about it. But I'm enjoying doing that. So another episode of that's in the works. And I put those up on TikTok. I made little shorts and put them up over there. I'm new to that realm. Do you have a TikTok, Dave? I never had one until
I
recently.
have we have one, but I can't stand it. And the fact that
I like the long format stuff. It's hard for me to do short sound bites. I've probably got the longest TikToks. They have I think a 10-minute limit over there for now, and I've tried to keep them under that. But holy cow, my videos tend to run anywhere from a half hour to more.
Yeah. Hold on right there, Steve. High quantum momentum. Here we go with the next half hour in the second half of the show coming up right now. Good night, Filth. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Final time tonight, we say hello to our good friend Steve Stockton from the YouTube channel Among the Missing. And you're pretty familiar with his stories that we play around here. But Steve, I want to ask you, what are some of your a couple of your favorite stories that you could share with us?
Personal experiences or stories that I've covered, or
let's say one of each.
Story. Okay. Well, again, I'd have to reach back. Dennis Martin. As sad as that case is, I love covering that one. Riker Webb is the one that's stuck in my head. That's been fairly recent, although I think that's been a few years now. There's another one here in New England, a guy that went missing, Stephen Kubacki. He kind of knew he was missing, but he wasn't really sure what was going on. Had gone away to school and then ended up back about 40 miles away from where his parents lived. Didn't really know how he got there or where he'd been, and said that he felt like he'd been doing a lot of running. It's just a weird case. That's one of those that has some sort of supernatural element to it, although I don't know what that element is. But that one's a weird one. And we also made a video about people that appeared under mysterious circumstances. That's a good one, where people have just shown up in a place with no idea how they got there. I love those kind of stories. I think of those as time slip stuff. But
it reminds me of that Canadian skier who was skiing in New York.
Yeah, he was on the Niagara, on the Canadian side. Ended up, I think it was at the airport, like in San Francisco or something. Had a haircut and a new phone and new clothes that he didn't recognize. And he remembers like getting out of a truck. But when they went back and looked at that, he couldn't have traveled the distance that he did through like trucking or driving a car or something. Would have had to flown, but no record of him flying or getting on a plane or anything. What is that? Is that some sort of instantaneous geolocation thing where just disappear from one spot and appear in another? But he either didn't remember or doesn't want to talk about what happened to him. He said he had no idea. So
yeah, sure. You know, and not even your best night of partying and drugs can make that happen. And to show up right across the continent in a day, I believe, like around 34 hours later, something like that. I mean, let's get realistic here. Something strange happened.
Yeah, and it's like I said, driving. I drove from Orlando, Florida, to Las Vegas almost nonstop when I moved there, but it still took me, I don't know, a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, I think, to
As
get
it
there.
should.
So, yeah,
As it
and
totally
that
should.
was not even obeying the speed limit, but only pulled over when I had absolutely had to sleep. Slept for a couple hours. But I've been up until recently, I was a lifelong insomniac, so I could do those marathon drives. Used to drive from Knoxville to Orlando, 13-hour drive. That was nothing. But getting too old for that now, and plus I like uh, I like sleeping at night now when I can. Catching up for, I always, when I worked regular jobs and stuff, I always worked 2 full-time jobs. So if nothing else, I took that insomnia and made it work for me. I've been able to cram 2 lifetimes of living in because I didn't require much sleep. But not the older I get, the more I'm enjoying my sleep now.
Well, that's good, especially you know, as a married man now, you have to get in those naps while you can.
Oh yeah, that nice warm bed is hard to get out of. Especially here when it's 20 degrees outside. I've got my heat turned off in here, so I'm sitting here with a hoodie and a scarf and a flannel shirt on, but I know I've got a nice warm bed waiting on me as soon as this is over.
We can't talk about that, man. I am so tired right now from my day earlier today, and man, I lost about
The
5-6 pounds.
coffee keeps me going. I've always had, I drank coffee as a child, and uh, this is what they drink here. This is the local version of Timmy Ho's, Tim Hortons.
Yep.
I think they have Tim Hortons here in the States in some places now, but
Some places, Ohio.
here in New England, it's Dunkin's, and they drink it iced year round. My wife, she doesn't want it any way other than iced coffee. But I've gotten to where I can drink it more that way. But especially in the morning or late at night, I love a good hot cup of coffee.
Steve, when you put these stories together, how do you research them? Like, what are you looking for?
Just usually we'll pick a theme. My wife does the research and editing on that. She's a lot more educated than I am. She's got 2 master's degrees, one in psychology and one in criminal justice. So we'll pick a common theme. Like now the Canadian video that I did, that was actually suggested by one of my viewers, a guy named Super Nintendo. He's like, here's some strange Canadian cases, and put 3 names in there. We did the research on them, looked them up, and found a couple more to go with it. So, what are some other things that we've covered lately? Wild animal attacks, missing in the mountains, missing hunters. Try to pick a centralized theme like that, because there are just so many missing people, and more going missing all the time, that if you were just doing them randomly, it's such a mishmash. But we've covered missing indigenous women, and trying to think of what else. It all kind of runs together after a while. But the one that is kind of like that, where there is no real theme other than them being missing, is the live show that I do on Friday nights, the current missing person cases. Those can be from anywhere. And Nicole starts a couple of days before the broadcast. So she started today, and started finding cases where people are currently missing, and like to get the names and faces out there while it's still an active case. The first 48 hours is the most crucial, and she checks those the day of, and then literally right up until airtime, she's checking them and finding the pictures and things for me to put up there. And in some cases, there's just not a lot of information because they're so freshly missing. But have some happy instances to report on those. And one night, we had 2 sisters, children that were missing from Washington, D.C. And one of the people in our chat, a listener named Lolly, actually had lived in the building where their grandmother did, and knew the little girls, and got in touch with the grandmother. And we found out that they did make it back home okay. So little things like that, just a nice synchronicity there. But literally those come from all over. We cover the young, the elderly, the silver alerts, and things like that, and just people in generally. And then the next week, the next Friday, we update the ones from the last week if there's been changes. And sadly, there have been some bad outcomes, but there's quite a few happy ones too.
Steve Stockton from Among the Missing here tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Let's get to Brown Dwarf's question, good friend of yours and mine. Now that David Paulides is shining more light on UFOs, Steve, are you going to follow that path as well?
No, not really. I mean, I don't think it's the end all be all. I mean, I'm sure there are some cases that could be a good answer for, but I don't think that there's as many as some people would portray as being UFO related or anything supernatural. Said a lot of it. The more we've dug into these cases, it's just over experienced, if there is such a word, overconfident and ill prepared. That's the cause of a lot of people going missing. But there are some strange cases out there. But no, I'm not totally in camp UFO. And if you look at it, the ones that claim Bigfoot and UFOs and little people and things like that, that all ties into the faith theory, which, a lot of people, Bigfoot believers and UFO experiences alike, they'll kind of giggle at you if you mention the fae. But if you look into the little people historically, particularly in some of the Celtic countries where that at one time was basically a religion and may still be, that's an umbrella that covers everything. I've looked at a case one time where a guy claimed to be visited by two little men in a flying buggy that came down from the sky. This was in, the 1800s. That's a UFO encounter. Or some of the fae, they're not all little Tinkerbell fairies flitting around. There's elemental type creatures in there. One of them is a hairy giant. There's your Bigfoot. So the fae, as ridiculous as that may sound, that kind of ties everything together. And the fae are known to take people, changelings, and then they also need human blood, if you will, to continue their bloodline. So again, that's just a theory, but bears looking into. I think it's fun to conjecture and think and talk about.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. Let's go over to President Zaddy, who's asking, hi, Steve, will the Jean-Benet Ramsey case ever be solved? Last picture included a very high-profile woman.
I don't know. That's another one that stumped me. Another one that I remember when that happened. I followed it from day one. I thought we were going to have resolution in that just any time. And my wife was fascinated by that one when she was a child. She's a lot younger than I am. She was born in 1985. But I don't think Jean-Benet, I don't think we'll ever have an answer. I think because the mother passed away, the dad's not talking, and then Burke, the brother, a lot of people tried to pin it on him, but he's denied anything. I don't know. There's so many. That one's literally an octopus with 100 tentacles, and the police investigation was botched from the word go. They'd never handled a case like that. I mean, that was the excuse that they used. The crime scene wasn't locked down. They sent the dad around. Excuse me. I had to clear my throat. They sent the dad, one of his friends, the first officer on the scene, said, look around the house and see if anything looks out of place. And then they found the body. In my opinion, they should have had the family out of the house and let police go over that first, and it would have made more sense, and they wouldn't have had the evidence comprised or compromised like it was. But no, I don't think we'll ever know the truth on Jean-Benet.
Yeah, I'm sorry for cutting you off there.
That's okay.
I'm surprised that they never got confirmation on the writing sample, considering they were in the office. That piece of paper where the ransom note was written on was on a very specific piece of paper, literally taken halfway through you get that glue molding on the back of the paper, and nobody found anything. Nobody admitted up to the writing sample. Did that shock you as well?
Yeah, just a whole lot of that didn't make sense. First, it was supposedly a kidnapping and ransom situation, but then they found the body there. The note was they found a practice note on a legal pad that was Patsy's, and the handwriting, although there was different schools of thought on that, some people thought that it was similar to Patsy, the mother's handwriting. So that was just a strange case from the word go. And again, I don't think we'll ever have any answers for that one. It was either a cover up or poor police work. And, you know, I'm not trying to shame or shade the police. I understand. I wouldn't want to do their job just because of, you know, the things like that where, you know, you can let a lot of people down through your action or inactions. But I don't know. There's so many twists and turns. And again, unless somebody comes forth and says, I did it. And you've had that. You had, what was the guy, Mark David Carr, I think, that claimed that he did it and was there with Joan Benet. And then they extradited him from Thailand and questioned him and found out that he wasn't telling the truth. So I don't know. But that's what I kind of monitor. If I see anything in the news about it, I'll read up on it and try to catch up to date on it. Fascinating case. I like the true crime stuff as well.
Do you like the paranormal supernatural more than true crime?
I do. True crime. I used to write about true crime in the 80s. I was a stringer for local newspapers, covered a lot of court cases, a lot of murder trials and things like that, and also wrote for some of those the detective magazines that you used to see on the rack in the drugstore, you know, Startling Detective, True Detective. Always had a girl and a gun on the cover. But I found with that a lot of those people, when especially the serial killers and people like that, you don't want to study them too closely. They get into your head and they get under your skin. Sorry,
Steve,
got a tickle in my
no,
throat.
that's right. That's why I'm kind of pausing here and waiting for you to make sure that you were done. I know it's that time of the year where the crackly throat comes in, and you're just praying that you got enough water in the gas tank.
Yeah, try to get through that statement. Hit the mute button real quick before I cough or clear my throat.
Been there many times. Been there many, many times. Steve, we talked about children. We talked about seniors who vanish. What about people with animals? Take the dog for a walk, and you know the dog ends up tracking something and disappears. Next thing you know, poof, that person's gone as well.
Yeah, we cover a lot of cases like that where somebody went missing with an animal, and it's usually a dog. I mean, I can't imagine anybody taking another pet out there with them, but it's probably happened somewhere. But usually the animal's about 50-50 whether they come back or not. There's been cases where the person's missing and they find the dog, or the dog and the owner go missing and neither one are ever found.
Yeah. You would think with an animal, though, it would cause more commotion.
I'm sorry, could you say it again?
I said, you think with an animal around, like a dog or something, it would cause more commotion.
Yeah, you think so. And but some of the ones, you know, where they did find the dog, and there's been other cases where they've found people that have perished in the woods and the dog stayed right there with or near the owner. But I think that's strange when there is no dog, when the dog's not found.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Did the dog just wander off, or did it, like, you know, hey, I got to go find something to eat, or did something take the both of them?
That I don't know.
And
That I don't know. But dogs are pretty resilient when it comes to learning new things. That's
it
for sure.
is covered a case recently where a guy died and he'd slipped and fell up in the mountains and expired, and the dog stayed right there with him, and the dog lived and made it out, but it was so thin. I didn't even want to show the pictures of it in the video, so I didn't, but it was just emaciated. But it stayed right there with the body for what days, if not weeks.
Steve Stockton, we got about 5 minutes to go here before we have to say goodnight to you, what are we missing in all of this, Steve? What key information, or key evidence should we be looking for?
Well, I think the takeaway is, like I said earlier, don't hike alone. Go with a group, stay with your group, and go prepared. Um, Even if you're going for a day hike. Excuse me.
Take your time.
I got a tickle I can't get rid of. Even if you're going for a day hike, take enough stuff to last a couple of days, and food, water, purification tablets, and personal locator beacon. Can't emphasize that enough. Take one, invest in one.
Yeah, my friend has one of those personal locator beakers. I'll tell you, when he's like, 400 or 500 miles away hunting, his wife can, because you're allowed text messages on those systems.
Yep.
Now, his wife is all over his at home, making sure he's okay, if he has enough food, if everything is just fine. I mean, it's the way it is. You have to be safe out there.
Yeah, and then that's another thing. Let somebody know where you're going, how long you plan to stay, and when you plan to come back. Itinerary. If nothing else, if you don't have anybody, write it and leave it in your car that you park at the trailhead, because that's happened in so many of these cases where they'll find their car at the trailhead, but no person, no idea where they went or where they were headed, how long they were going to be there. So that's like one of the search and rescue guys, or it might have been law enforcement, said literally that's trying to find a needle in a haystack. And if you look at the sheer magnitude of some of these parks, how big they are, and did he take this trail? Did he take that trail? They wouldn't even know where to start looking for you. So, but yeah, the personal locator beacon, especially the ones with the text capability, and they even make ones that you can make a phone call on, like satellite phone. They're more expensive, but what's your life worth?
Yeah.
And if you're going to be doing some hardcore hiking, like the Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, the Continental Divide Trail, any one of those, invest in it. I mean, if nothing else, sell it on Craigslist when you get back, but it could save your life.
Oh, yeah. Tony in the UK has a question for you. Steve, have you ever looked into the missing fetuses from the documentary abduction cases? Also, perhaps you should look into the case of Where My Passport Is, Steve, because I'm missing my passport.
Missing passport. There's somebody flying around pretending to be you, Dave.
Oh, I wish. No, I know it's in my house. And
no, Tony, I will look into that, though. That's an interesting concept. That's kind of some X-Files territory there, but I love stuff like that. So it bear looking into. I'll take a look and see what I can find.
Yeah, and if you have any tips on where my passport may be, I'd appreciate that.
Did you look under the couch cushions or down in the couch?
Never made it that far. It's either in my front room by my closet, in my kitchen, in my bedroom, in my office right here, or someplace else that I'll never see again.
That'd be a frightening feeling to not know where it was.
Oh,
if you need it in a hurry. Now, I'm assuming you'll need that for the party in Reno.
You got that right.
You can always have another one made, but still kind of disconcerting that there's one floating around out there somewhere that's valid. That, I mean, you're very distinctive looking, but somebody with a little makeup and some the will to do it could disguise themselves as you and pretend to be Dave Scott.
Very true.
But the voice would give them away. Nobody's got a voice like you.
Oh, you're way too kind. I don't have that sultry, sexy, deep voice like you do. The little scratch in it. I don't have that. But I'm working on it. I am working on it. Steve,
it takes years.
Let's say a big thank you for coming back on Spaced Out Radio. It is always a pleasure to have you on every few months to come in and tell some creepy stories from around the world. And I just love the job you do, man. Keep it on up and keep pushing out there, man.
Oh, thanks, Dave. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. Anytime, just say the word and I'll be here, and I'll keep those stories coming for the third hour too. Like I said, I've got some exclusive content that Nicole's written for you. I've just got to find the time to record it, but they'll get it done here soon. I'm still playing catch up from the holidays.
Oh, aren't we all? Aren't we all? Steve, thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio again. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. And, I always look forward to the next time, my man.
Yeah,
So you take care. Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing brings us another weird story about Dave. Yeah, not this Dave, another Dave. Robin Haynes will be here for the Crypted Report. It's Dave 101 night as well. Stay tuned. Another fast one, Steve.
Yeah, that went by quick. 2 a.m. here on almost 1:59 a.m. here in New England, the witching hour. I got to get up early in the morning, so I'm going to take the dog out and hit the bed. So
yeah, you go, man, and give that lovely wife of yours a hug for us.
I certainly will. Thanks, everybody. Come check me out on my channel.
Yeah, we'll push it every night.
Indeed. Thanks, Dave.
Take care. Steve Stockton, everyone. I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back, guys. Hi, Robin Haynes. All right. Margaret Johnson, welcome. I should. That's a good idea, Paramarv. Scott B., that's a great idea. Sophie, welcome. Boy, you guys are chatty. Chatty. I gotta get your news ready. Your weird news. Bear with me. Yeah, that should be enough. Perfect. Thank you tonight to Flat Six, Time Travel, Kevin, Horror Realm, and Jennifer for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support, everybody. And yeah, don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store because nothing's ugly there. You can wear whatever you want, whenever you want. Just wear it. It's fun. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. You can join us at youtube.com/spaced out radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Obtundant. Obtundant is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go with Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. Yes, he was just a guest here, but this is another creepy story from his YouTube channel.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. On September 19, 2016, 49-year-old Dave Cook, an accomplished mountaineer from Albuquerque, New Mexico, was going for his 47th summit of a 14er by solo climbing either Pyramid Peak, Maroon Peak, or North Maroon Peak, or possibly all three, in the White River National Forest in Aspen, Colorado. Dave, a former Marine with a wealth of experience in the backcountry, was well equipped for this trip. Unfortunately, when Dave failed to return home, his family immediately knew something was wrong. His wife, Maureen, described Dave as a kind and caring person who wouldn't just leave his family. Dave was reported missing to the Pitkin County Sheriff's Office on Tuesday, September 20, 2016. During the investigation, deputies learned that Dave arrived at the Maroon Bells Snowmass Wilderness area shortly after 11 a.m. on Monday, September 19th. Dave was seen on Monday, September 19th, hiking near the trail to Maroon Peak. Additionally, Dave's cell phone pinged cell towers in Aspen and Gunnison counties later on Monday. The sheriff's office said it's not unusual for cell phones at high elevations to ping cell towers from the wilderness. Dave was also reported to have been seen on Tuesday morning by a U.S. Forest Service employee near Maroon Lake, the last confirmed sighting of him. This sighting and other details directed search teams to focus their effort in the Maroon Bells Snowmass Wilderness area. After 8 days of searching with no results, the Pitkin County Sheriff's Office suspended the search. The incident management team conducted multiple ground and air searches over the 8 days following Dave's disappearance. In the wake of Dave's mysterious disappearance, Maureen, Dave's wife, and other members of Dave's family set up the Dave Gives Back campaign to help raise funds and awareness for search and rescue teams in Colorado and New Mexico. Maureen wants to ensure that Dave is not forgotten and that other families do not have to endure the same ordeal. David Dave Cook is described as a Caucasian male, approximately 5 foot 10 inches tall, 175 pounds, with short brown and graying hair and light eyes. He was last seen wearing an earth tone colored shirt, a blue jacket, a black backpack, and khaki pants. Cook was reportedly carrying a blue climbing helmet and is described by his friends and family as friendly and outgoing. The Pitkin County Sheriff's Office requests anyone with any information regarding Dave's disappearance or current whereabouts to please contact them at 970-920-5300.
And once again, thank you to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing for another great YouTube story from his channel, Among the Missing, which just got its 100,000 YouTube placard. Yeah, those are nice. Very, very nice. We appreciate him coming on. Make sure you hit subscribe on his channel when you are there. From the missing to the mysterious, Robin Haynes is back for another cryptid report. Robin Haynes is back with the Cryptid Report, and it's always so much fun. And unfortunately, this is the shortened version, so we only have until the bottom of the hour. Robin, welcome back.
Hi, how are you tonight?
You know what? I am dead tired today.
Yeah, you sound a little tired. You know what? I think it's the cold weather. I've never been as tired as I've been lately, and I don't even know why. It's not like I've done anything.
Well, you know what? I spent 6 hours working outside today.
That'll do it.
In the freezing temperatures of where I was. And it just, then I had to go for my chiropractor, and I fell asleep on my chiropractor's table.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And from there, I ended up actually, how can I put it? I drove home, had a great bowl of chili for dinner with a nice habanero hot sauce that I had, and then went for
now
a
you
hot
just want to sleep.
And trust me, my bed is going to feel good after this one. It's going to feel real good after this one. But that's
I don't know. Your poor wife after the habanero sauce and the chili. It's going to be so great for her.
Well, that's her fault. She made dinner. That'll be her fault. And I'm probably going to oblige. That's the way I do it. But nonetheless, I got a question about. We've never really gone here on the Sasquatch area, but I thought we'd try and have some fun tonight with this.
Let's do it.
How come Sasquatch is known to be peeping toms?
Because they're as curious about us as we are about them. I mean, there's a couple of reasons. First off, they could overpower us at any time. We know that. But we really are not so much a threat as we're a problem for them, because we kill what we don't understand. Our people do. Not all of us, but some of our people. So we're a bigger threat than they really are to us. So they want to keep an eye on us, number one, to make sure we're not going to be coming in and doing anything to hurt them. But it's always been hysterically funny to me that our people go out in the woods and they're all out there and they're looking for Sasquatch. Well, that's all right, because the Sasquatch are looking at us too. So they're peeping at us while we're peeping at them. I mean, they're curious about our behaviors, our mannerisms, why they think we're ridiculous, why we do the things we do, why we think the things we do. And so they're just as curious as we are, but they also watch us quite a bit just as a safety set. I mean, they really do, because we're unpredictable. They don't ever know what we're going to do next. And we generally don't make really good choices, and they have families. So they're going to watch us for a couple of reasons. One, to make sure we're not going to do anything that could be harmful to them and their people. And also because they are curious about our ways, just like we are theirs.
I can see that, but I mean, staring at people inside their bedrooms or their motorhomes or
You
their
get used to it,
campers.
Dave. You get used to it. I used to, years ago, I always had the full curtains and everything. Well, I live out in the woods. Nobody's going to be peeking in my window, and nobody wants that kind of trauma. So nobody's looking in my window at night, but they have a fit. Like when I have curtains up or anything in front of the window, they literally will scream and holler and pound on the walls and everything. So I don't even put curtains up anymore. And because there's nobody that's going to look in. I'm isolated. I'm out in the woods. I don't have to worry about other, humans like us peeking in there. And it's not uncommon for me to roll over in the middle of the night and see one looking in the window. That's a normal thing. And you really do get used to it after a while, believe it or not. It doesn't faze me like it used to. Like when I was a kid, I'd be like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Now I just kind of roll over and go back to sleep. So you adapt to it. I've got more nose prints, face prints on my windows than anybody ever should. And I have a friend of mine, she's an elderly gal, and she didn't realize that they were around her house until she met me. And I was finding all these footprints in her yard. And she started seeing face prints on her glass on the windows and handprints. And one night she got up in the middle of the night, she heard something, walked into her kitchen, and there was a couple of the kids that were little tiny ones that were looking in her window at her.
Oh my. See, that would freak me out. That would freak me out. And I know they're not doing it on purpose.
Yeah,
it's just
they're just curious. It's not any different than when we haul out to the woods to see if we can peek on them. Zerky, and of course, Zerky's older now. I mean, when I moved here, he was like probably 3 or 4. And I've been here, it'll be 6 years in March. So he's older now. But I had cat food on the porch for the feral cats, and I have glass panels that go around my door. It would be nothing to sit on the couch and then all of a sudden look towards the front door and you'd see this gigantic black head through the glass panels that go around the door. And he'd be up there grabbing the cat food out of the bowls. Now he just goes in the pens and takes them. But yeah, and you'd see this gigantic black head. And I think not that there won't be a point that, maybe something will happen that'll freak me out. But I've gotten so used to looking in the windows and stuff that it really doesn't freak me out like you would think it does.
Yeah, but for the average person, it is something that really freaks them out. I mean, because they don't know if it's a Sasquatch or some pervert out there who is trying to play some sexual fantasy. They don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get more freaked out. Like if I'm out in the woods at night, which I get so much action during the day that I don't feel the need to be out at night. Like I will if somebody wants me to go out in the woods at night or something, but I really don't go out at night that much. But if I'm out at night and it's dark out and one of them comes up behind me, which they've done before, and they'll pat my head. They like my hair because it's thick, and pat my head. That freaks me out because I don't like what I can't see. I can handle them cloaked during the daytime, coming up and touching my hair. That's fine. Nighttime in the dark, like I'm not afraid to be in the dark, but having something that I can't see come up behind me in the dark, that freaks me out.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you do to kind of prepare at night for them while they're on their staring missions?
You know what? I used to do various things. Like my kids wanted the blackout curtains because they didn't want to see any of it. They got tired of it. They wanted the blackout curtains, so they saw absolutely nothing. I don't really prepare anymore. I just do my thing. I mean, I just assume they're going to do it, and where my bed's at, I can see out the window from where I sleep at. And I spend a lot of time laying in bed watching TV and looking out the window because every now and then I'll catch them walking across the front yard or something. So I just don't even think about it anymore. I've done this for so many years, and I'm not, and I, just to be clear, there's eventually going to be a time when they do something like that that will freak me out. I'm not immune to it. It just doesn't bother me as much as it does everybody else, and I've had them where, because my house sits off the ground, the bottom of my window is 5 foot off the ground. And I'll look over the windowsill and I'll see the top of a head, or I'll see an arm on the windowsill outside, and you would think that that would get me worked up. It just doesn't anymore. Now, will there be, an occasion where it will? Absolutely. I'm not, void of feelings, but it doesn't like it used to.
Are they interested in the people and what they're doing? Or are they
Yeah.
interested in why people are locked inside and you can see through this glass?
I don't necessarily, I've never known of any that have said to me that they're curious about, why are they behind this glass or what are they doing in there? They just want to watch. And I tell you something, and it sounds crazy, but they love the TVs. They don't understand what those are. All they see is all this bright colors, and they see pictures moving and all of these things. And my kids used to come and get me when they were little, and they'd be in their bedroom watching TV, and they'd come get me, and they're like, there's these big hairy guys sitting out in the backyard looking in towards the TV. And they would be sitting like Indian style out in the backyard. And it was like 2 or 3 of them that would go out there and sit every night, and they'd look through the window. They'd be probably, I want to say 20 feet away from the window, but they would be looking in where the TV was. And that's when the kids are like, blackout curtains. I don't care what you got to put over the windows, Mama, put something over the windows. And I would go buy contact paper, like shelf lining paper, and cover the windows in that, even because it would scare the kids. But
Right.
they do. They love to watch the TV. And when the big screen TVs came out, that was like a freak show. It was like all of a sudden you'd look out there like they were at a drive-in movie. They loved that. And I don't necessarily know that they understand what they're looking at. Or, I always thought maybe it was the colors and, seeing all the movement on the screen, because they didn't understand what that was. But I've had several people that I've worked with and helped that have had the same experiences, that they just seem really entranced by these TVs. They don't understand why there's all these things in this box. But the big screen TVs, I noticed a huge difference. When we got the big screens, they were just ecstatic. They didn't understand why it was so big. And they were always sitting outside the windows.
Weird. What about peering from a distance? They're known to do that as well. So if you're sitting in the forest camping, or the
Yeah,
bunch of kids are playing and maybe running around playing tag or army or whatever it may be, they sit in the bush and they just watch.
they
It-
do. I mean, for something that really doesn't have a lot of patience, in certain situations, they have an infinite amount of patience. And it's all curiosity as to what we're doing, why we're doing. When you're out, like if you're out playing and you're laughing and that kind of thing, and you're having a good time, that raises your frequency, it raises your energy, and that's like a beacon to them. And so they want to see why. They like the energy that it creates, so they're going to watch you even more. They like the laughter, that excites them. And again, they're as curious to what we're doing as we are about them. They really are. And they will study us and watch us and, not, well, learn, I guess, to a degree, but they are curious. They want to know what's going on at all times. I mean, not only for their safety, because if we're acting really stupid where, it can affect the clan or hurt one of the family members, they want to know about it ahead of time. They'll send scouts from the clan to keep an eye on us to make sure we're not doing anything that's going to hurt them. But it's curiosity as well. We're so curious. If we knew where a clan was at, there's not a whole lot of us that wouldn't go somewhere close by to watch them interact, to study what they're doing. It's no different. They're a human hybrid. They're a type of people. They're not our type of people, but they are a people nonetheless. They're just a different culture, a different way of life. And so they're going to study us just like we study them. We lost Dave. Where'd he go?
There we go. For some reason, I got booted out of my StreamYard program, but That's okay.
They're very entertained by us. I mean, they think we're silly and they think we're goofy, and which we are. But depending on the person, sometimes it's a matter of their own safety to make sure that we're not doing anything we're not supposed to.
Hmm. Now, are they police officers of the forest? Is
The
that a
dogmen
fair?
are.
The
The
dogmen are.
dogmen are. The dogmen are more the police of the woods. Yeah.
And
The,
what do they do to earn that title?
well, they're on patrol all the time. They're guarding it. They're watching to see what goes on. And they really, just like a guard dog, and we will eventually have the results of the DNA on the dogmen. The study's going on and we're getting some great results, and we've got more to get. But they're like the police of the woods. They're more stoic. They're not as whimsical, like the Bigfoots have a wicked sense of humor. Dogmen do have a sense of humor in a different way, but they're more stoic. They don't want to be noticed. They don't want to be bothered with us, but they do watch everybody to make sure everybody's behaving. They really do. And they do act more like the police of the woods. The Sasquatch do their own thing. They know what they're doing. They've got their own plans. They've got each one of the clan have their own jobs, and they're going to do it. They're not so much going to worry about discipline on anybody. Where when you get to the dogmen, they are much more like the police officers, for sure.
Right, and I can see that, and I can appreciate that as well. Why do they seem so cranky when they have interactions or interludes with people?
They really don't want to be noticed. Sasquatch are so curious about us. They're as curious as we are about them, where the dogmen are a lot more stoic, and they don't mind watching us, but they would rather be left alone. You do get occasionally some that want to interact with people, and that's okay. I've had some that were very, friendly, that wanted to interact, but primarily they're more stoic, they're more standoffish. They just want to live their lives. They want to see what's going on. They keep an eye on everything. They guard everything. And they really just don't want to be bothered. And they don't want us, like where we go out and we look for Sasquatch and, we'll go in the woods and do whatever. They don't like that. If they want to interact with you, then that's fine. It's on their terms. But they don't want us nosing around in their business. They just want to be left alone. If they want to interact with you, they'll let you know. When you start going and hunting them down and do like we do with the Sasquatch, it ends up badly. It really does. And that's when they tend to get really pissy, because they don't want that. They don't want you to know where they live. They don't want you up in their business. They just don't.
Well, can you blame them? We haven't really been friendly.
We don't, and again, it's the same thing I always say. A lot of our people, not all, because we do have a lot of really good people out there, but our people kill what they don't understand. And rather than learn from any of these things, they'd rather kill them and just be done with it, because they don't understand enough about them to know whether or not, they're good or bad. And quite honestly, there's good and bad in everything. So there's good ones and there's bad ones. I've been helped by dogmen before, just like I have the Sasquatch. They've saved my life more than a few times. And I had a dogman that helped. There was an attempt that was going to be made on me, that they thought if they took me and kidnapped me, put me in a cage, then the Sasquatch would come in and they'd be able to catch a Sasquatch. And it was both the dogman as well as the Sasquatch that stopped the whole thing. So they are good. They're not all bad. But when they are bad, they're more of a threat than even the Sasquatch are.
I don't usually ask questions, but this one's kind of cool. Castle is asking, do Fae play tricks on Bigfoots and Dogmen?
The Fae will play tricks on everything. I think that in my experience and from what I know, they really don't bother the Bigfoot and the Dogmen. They all seem to do their own thing. They like to play more tricks on us, but yes, they actually will. I don't think it's as common as it is when they play the tricks on us, but yes, they do. Fae have a lot of power. They have a lot more power than people think that they do. They can take any form that they want, and they pretty much can do whatever they want, and they pack a punch. They are not anything that you want to mess with. When they're good, they're wonderful. But when they're bad, they can be really dangerous.
I bet they can. I mean, it's just, I find it unfathomable. I mean, getting back to Sasquatch for a minute, them being a bunch of perverts. I mean that with all due laughter and respect, and the way they spy on people, and
they do.
What do they think of the human body then?
They can't understand it. They call us the hairless humans, and I think some of them, because of the human lineage, you'll get some that will get a sexual attraction to some of our people, but that goes against their laws because they do have their own laws, and that goes against the laws, and it's forbidden, but it does happen. But they just can't understand it. I mean, they look so scary and so weird to us. Well, we don't look much better to them, except for the occasional one that might get a crush on us or whatever. And I've worked with people where females have gotten crushes on our human man. And I've also worked with men that, the females, they're females like our guys, or they're males like our women.
Yeah, I hear you there. Robin, thank you. We will talk to you next week on the Crypted Report.
Sounds
Coming
great.
up next, it's the Dave 101. We're going into the paranormal world. Then the weird news of the week. Spaced Out Radio continues in the final half hour next. All right, Robin, love you much.
Love ya. Talk to you guys later. Have a good night. Bye.
Take care. Bye. Robin Haynes. I'll be right back, guys. All right. It's been a fun show tonight, hasn't it? Good to have you with us. Thank you. And if you're new, don't forget to hit subscribe, ring the bell, because we are here 7 days a week. Sweet Robbie G is here on the weekends. Jessica Jones on Sundays. Indiana. How you doing? I will be in Nebraska in April for Robin Haynes's Bigfoot conference. So if you live nearby, come join us there. Thank you tonight, Flat Six, Time Travel, Kevin, Horror Realm, and Jennifer for the super chats. And we want to see you all in Reno. Go to info@spacedoutradio.com. Info@spacedoutradio.com. Grab your tickets today. They're only $100. We'll see you in Reno May 10th through 12th at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort. Come have some fun with us. Here we go. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio, Instagram @Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It is that time of the night, that time of the week, where I say, get off my lawn. It's the Dave 101. Oh, what the heck? No! I fired the wrong theme song. Look at that. Here we go.
It's time for Dave 101.
On the door, it's Dave. Dave, D-A-V-E. Dave, out here. Dave the Killer.
Oh, I love that line from Slapshot. Oh, Dave's a killer. Dave's a mess. Oh, it's good times. Good times. How y'all doing now? I want to just say a big shout out to my main man, Merle, because he's always got some good paranormal stuff that we are going to talk about each and every month on Ghosts of the Great White North. And I haven't done a paranormal themed Dave 101 in a while. But here I go. Why? Because you ever notice that nothing ever changes in the paranormal world? No, it doesn't. It's the same people on the same television shows at the same time of night on the same channels, investigating the exact same locations. And then I wonder, how the hell does this stay on television? Where is the excitement that used to be built around paranormal television? You know, those shock factors that we were always waiting for, that ghost may be just around the corner. No, we don't get that anymore. No, I think paranormal TV is drying up. Yes, it's going to stay popular. Yes, it's going to stay in the highlight reels. Yes, it's going to be there for you to watch at any time, especially the repeats. And then that's about it. What are we really trying to solve when it comes to paranormal television outside of entertainment? Nothing. Zero, zilch, nada. And to me, I don't know about you, but to me, it's boring. It's boring. It's not fun. It's not entertainment. Look, the one thing that we could say out there is 99% of the paranormal teams that are out there looking for Casper the Friendly Ghost are not out there trying to solve the mysteries that could be a part of it. What are the mysteries? How about, I don't know, this lifelong question that each and every one of us will have, like, is there life after death? Now, if you've experienced ghosts, you're pretty much convinced that there is life after death. Maybe you've lived in a haunted house or worked in a haunted location. It's creepy when things happen that you cannot understand. But I'm going to tell you here, the paranormal almost needs an enema. It really does. And that may sound grotesque to some of you, but I just want some refreshing change in the paranormal world. I want to see new faces. I want to see new ideas. And when I say new ideas, it's not technology that you're carrying in their hands. No, it isn't that at all. What I want to see is somebody actually go out and try and solve these unmitigated questions. I want to see them go out there and try and prove the existence of life after death. Why? Because we're all going to die. Eventually, we're going to punch our ticket and we're going to check out of this place, maybe for the final time. Unless you believe in reincarnation. But then again, maybe if you don't believe in reincarnation, you're still coming back anyways. We haven't figured it out. Right? And this is why I get so downtrodden on the paranormal. Because if you go into some of these paranormal rooms on Facebook or wherever, it's always the same people talking about the same questions, bragging about this is the year I'm going to Waverly Hills, or this is the year I'm going to Gettysburg. This is the year I'm going to go investigate, the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles. I hate to tell you, paranormal people, but there are more interesting locations out there than the same ones you do each and every year. I understand the tourism hotspots and the bragging rights you could have from your friends when you go there and you say, yeah, I investigated Alcatraz this weekend. And man, was it awesome. We got locked in a jail cell, and one of the former prisoners kept on pulling the blanket off of me as I laid in his bed. Okay. We see it all. Okay. To me, those people are not paranormal investigators. Okay. They are enthusiasts looking for a thrill. What I want to see is people actually trying to solve mysteries. Not how a person was murdered where it affects a court case, okay, because that's not going to happen. That's not the way ghost hunting works. I want to know where they are, okay, because if it isn't life after death that we're seeing, then it has to be something a little bit more technical. Like maybe we're walking into different dimensions. Maybe that's where we are. Maybe that's what's happening, is that we are actually seeing other dimensions unfold right in front of us. Yet we're calling them ghosts, but maybe we're the ghosts to them. Look, I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy watching ghost hunters on TV or kindred spirits or whatever the show you might like. Ghost Adventures. Go for it. You're allowed to watch that. I'm just saying that I don't enjoy it. I don't. I would sooner sit there and scroll through memes and apps and all sorts of stuff on my cell phone than I would watching an hour of that television program where you can never hear anything because they're either screaming, running, or the music in the background is on way too loud. Ghost hunting is fun though. Okay, let's not take this away. For the enthusiasts out there, and I would consider myself an enthusiast. I love going into a haunted building, trying to figure out who's there and try and get something to communicate with me. I'm not a ghost hunter at all. I'm not like Merle, who takes this very, very seriously, but the cheap thrill of having an adventure into a haunted location is a lot of fun. But when it comes to the entertainment side, what they're putting on TV, why can't we expand it? We never hear of a haunted location being checked out somewhere in the depths of Alaska. Why not? I'm sure there's ghosts up there. Or what about some hauntings in mid-America where these old ghost towns have nothing but the spirits to tell their stories? That's what I want. I want to see that creativity come into the television realm. I want to see them push themselves into an area where they are going to places that have never been investigated before. Imagine going to some town in the US where there is, say, a mine collapsed and dozens of people were trapped underneath. What's their story? What are they doing down there? Are they still there? That's adventure. That's trying to solve what's going on. But no, we don't get that. We don't get that at all. Because everybody and everything wants to be so science-y that we're not pushing the limits of where we need to be. Oh, for sure, there's some very talented people who are trying. David Weatherly is one. Joshua Cutchin is another. Ross, our good friend from Seattle, Ross Allison, he's another one. Our friend from Seattle, Jake, is another one. Our main man, Merle, is one. There's a lot of good ones out there, but we need to improve it. Because for the most part, like I said, this is a hobby for many people. And guess what? It's fun being able to say, oh, what do you do for fun? I'm a ghost hunter. No way. Yeah. Seriously, you do that? You go out looking for ghosts? Yeah. It's a great opening line to meeting someone, especially if you're single. Imagine going to the bar. Remember the days we used to go to the bar to try and actually pick people up? You imagine going there today? I don't know if the game still happens. I haven't been single in a long time. I'm not sure if the bar scene is still where you do things like that. Or maybe you're at a house party and somebody says, oh, well, what do you do for fun? What do you do for hobbies? I'm a ghost hunter. That's a powerful title to use on somebody. Right? Why not use it? If it gets you what you want, maybe a new girlfriend, boyfriend, even if it's only for a night, it's a great way to pick someone up and get them interested in you very, very fast. Because now you become the center of attention. And I think that's what a lot of people want. Not all, but I think that's what a lot of people want. They want to be that center of attention. They want to be the front of the conversation when they're at that house party, when they're at the bar, when they're at work. Oh, how was your ghost hunt this weekend, Chad? Oh, it's fantastic. We got a lot of EVPs, and I check out this picture of a shadow person that I got. That stuff is fun. But you're not solving anything. Wouldn't it be nice to try and solve some of these mysteries that we have going on? See, that's why I much prefer, you know, Sasquatch shows or UFO shows, because it just seems like we're making a little bit more progress where paranormal television has become extremely regressive. Now, I might be in the minority here with a lot of this, and that's okay. That's okay, because I'm not seeing the entertainment value of sitting in front of my tube for an hour watching Waverly Hills for the 88th time by the same team on a different show title. I want to know what's going on. Each and every day, we are closer to death. All of us. Whether it's my 10-year-old son, whether it's my 50-year-old self, or whether it's each and every one of you. And I want to know that this continues, because the one thing that I've found really cool about life is living is very cool. I like waking up in the morning, even if I live in the middle of nowhere. I like waking up in the morning to the smell of a nice breakfast. I like having that morning hot shower to loosen up the joints and to set the pace for the day. I love wondering what cologne I'm going to wear the next day. I love it when my son comes up in the morning and gives me a big hug. All right. I love walking my son to the bus stop every morning. I love going to work at my daytime job. I love my nighttime job, hanging out with all of you. We can do it together. But remember, if you're looking to solve anything, television isn't the way to do it. We got to push the paranormal people to work harder, so that way we can maybe get some answers. That is your Dave 101. And now, Shirky Poo's news.
What time is it?
It's time for Shirky Poo's news!
Oh, we're starting off with a real head knocker, if we could use that term. How about this guy? A man has gone viral, and he's proud of it for getting 5 women pregnant at the same time and then joining them at their live 5-in-1 baby shower. Yeah, the internet basically lost their minds after videos showed the man celebrating all 5 baby mamas, all of whom appeared genuinely fine with it. Lizzie Ashley, a 29-year-old Brooklyn musician and one of the women expecting, took to TikTok to share the startling revelation about this bizarre event. "I guess we're sister wives now," she captioned one of the clips from the joint shower, which has more than 10.5 million views. In another video, the expectant mom wrote, "When your baby daddy got 4 other girls pregnant at the same time," on the slideshow of all 5 women posing and holding their bellies. "We've accepted each other. It's better for the little ones," she explained in the second video. They decided to have the baby shower on the same day, which the dad, Zeddy Wills, a musician and apparently not a condom spokesperson, also attended. "We can't change the fact that he's our baby daddy, and everything happens for a reason," she said in another video. "We've decided to work together, and our families are supportive of our decision." But social media users were pretty shocked by the choice. One person wrote, "Please tell me this isn't real." Another asked, "How is everyone involved not embarrassed?" A third commenter wrote, "What in the Nick Cannon is this?" Oh, that's funny. That's very funny. Well, some educators work their way up the chain, while some work their ways into the bedroom. A former university chancellor in Wisconsin has claimed he was fired for making vegan cooking porn with his wife. And now he has to look for a new career. Maybe it's in video. 63-year-old Joe Gao, who worked for the University of Wisconsin La Crosse for 17 years, stated that he was fired in December when it was revealed that he and his 56-year-old wife, Carmen, were leading a double life as porn stars. Gow and Wilson's YouTube channel, Sexy Healthy Cooking, features the self-described sexual intellectuals cooking vegan meals with adult film actors before viewers are directed to other websites for more explicit content. Gow believes someone alerted the university after recognizing him and his wife on YouTube or one of their websites where they are described as a passionate plant-powered couple cooking, conversing, and canoodling and shooting extraordinary sex scenes with the top adult stars. We are really just stunned at how quickly the videos became popular and had over 1 million views, Wilson told the publication. While Wilson admitted that it has been tough lying to family and friends, Gow stated that he has been treated like a pariah since the secret came out. It's fascinating. Before this, I was someone you admired, and now I'm someone who is reviled. It's just a really unusual thing, he says. Well, they're happy. Some people we talk to are curious, and others are like, I'll never talk to you again. It's been very saddening to see some people abandon us. We've lost friends. That said, the porn business is like the couple's content. Liking the couple's content, that is. People in the industry have reached out to us to invite us to work with them, so it's really refreshing, said Wilson. The couple, who have also co-written several books under pseudonyms about working in the porn industry, are considering future X-rated opportunities now. Well, since you're both unemployed, wouldn't that be the way to go? Even the most unusual talent can net you some accolades. A Mississauga, Ontario woman, her ability to whistle with her nose has garnered her a Guinness World Record for the loudest nose whistle. Lulu Lotus set the record after blowing a 44.1 decibel whistle, according to the Guinness World Records. The GTA woman learned to use her nose to whistle at age 7. Lotus visited Aeroacoustics Engineering Limited in her hometown to set the record by having the whistle loudness measured in a special room used for precision recording. I would love to attempt even a louder whistle, she said. Hey, you got to have goals, don't you? Hey, the big thank you to everyone who is tuning us in tonight. We got one more story for you. While it may sound amusing, letting moose lick your cars can prove to be fatal for them. Parks Canada is urging motorists this winter to not let the moose lick your cars for the taste of road salt. Sounds funny. It's okay to laugh, but wash your cars a little bit more so that way the moose aren't getting off on the salt and getting in car accidents. That's a real thing, people, believe it or not. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. Good show, people. Good show. Give me 2 seconds here. That was fun. Good night, Layla. Good night, Vanessa. Good night, River Dog. Big thank you tonight to Flat Six, Time Travel, Kevin, Horror Realm, and Jennifer. Tomorrow night on the show, Nikki Williams will join us. We're talking reincarnation and past lives. So I hope you guys show up for that. Spread the word, show the love, and we'll talk to you tomorrow night. Take care, everybody.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.